15 seconds till showtime.
Hey, how you doing, Brack? Yeah, I said, how are you? How you doing? How's it going over there, buddy?
Did I do something wrong?
Not at all. I'm just not to be so
In trouble?
Ah, forget it.
5 seconds.
cause I'm African after you, but after that I'm after Nana's 2 9 and 2 split. Bronze line of my blood, wait, fucked up, take a leap, King Kong jumping off the world straight. Trade blows with the concrete and my own grave, cause monkey see, monkey do, monkey eat, monkey fruit, and I reach what I sow, so I hang from the stoop on the corner, holla at me. I need what I know what I need, on my soul, on my toes, on my feet where I bleed. Walk the streets and I bleed on my soles, on my toes, on my feet.
Catch a throat full from the fire vocal with ash and molten glass like I am Gyro Joko. The volcano out of Iceland will conquer and destroy the rap world like the white man. Learned from a pro as a mentor. Started with a bird nest and burnt it to a cinder. Gotta get the party kicking, plus your little charred body smelting like chicken. As the dollar continues to lose momentum, you need land for murdered Indians to represent them. Gold is up, urging all thugs, trading out change for cash and splurging on drugs. A more secure investment, food and water, a couple of gallons for your cutest daughter. And thank him as a Yankee fellow Southerner. Don't forget the general rank, hello, Governor.
Hello, Governor.
Hello, Governor. Vocals spill over like the rolling hills of Dover or the Gulf Oil disaster if preferred after. Depends on your status or your stature, whether you benefit from the prior or the latter. Get the fatter check split. How much for 100,000 tons of correct shit? Sell a Chinese half-price seafood. Prices like a real nice street dude. Who can knock the most dead birds out the sky and then spread a lie? Say you know why. Bet. Get the machine. Blame it on the fireworks. Clean up. Y'all know where to send the wire jerks. Black teeth still snack on sweets and get stacks with the quick on quick. They used to sell CDs. Now they got fake weed. Seeds burning trees. Potpourri. Buyer beware, had to tell us one liar, sire be fair. At least I'm tired hair from the chair while I'm here. I hate play loving her, JJ for governor.
You.
Hamdi. distant, your luck too heavy. cow. Pilgrimage, escape momentum. Take our time, take our time, take our fortune, take our fortune. Speaking in tongues, it's worth a broken lip. Your hate, clipped and distant. Your luck with pilgrimage. Rest assured this will not last. Take a turn for the worst. Your hate, clipped and distant. Your luck with two-headed cow. Pilgrimage, escape momentum. Take our turn, take our turn.
Oh, I need a breather. I'm okay. I'm okay. Whew, fuck. Is that good? Is that enough? Is that any good? Who fucking knows? the artist Rockin and I'm sure you've heard their music, ambient, experimental shit. But did you know that all their remixes have been from like 2010 and like really hot hits? Like, is she getting paid out by someone? Is she getting paid to do this? Like, what the fuck's your problem? You can choose any song in the world and you're choosing hits from 2010. You're like, it's insane. Like, oh, you know what I'm gonna play? You know what I'm gonna listen to? I'm gonna listen to Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen, released in 2010. Like, what the fuck? Choose a better song, faggot. 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 Faggot.
What you're seeing now is the Looney Tunes short, Rabbit of Seville. It was directed by Chuck Jones and released in the year 1950. Like most cartoon shorts at the time, it was made to play in theaters before a feature film. And this is an episode of the show Clutch Cargo, titled The Arctic Bird Giant, released in 1959. It was, of course, made for television. Now tell me if you can notice any kind of discernible difference between these two. Don't worry, I'll give you a second to think about it. Bugs Bunny, Clutch Cargo.
All aboard, everybody.
But where's Mr. Snowshoe?
Bugs,
All your
Cargo.
igloos up north have ice cream.
Bugs, Cargo. You notice it yet? That's right. One of these is a shining example of how dynamic the medium of animation can be. And the other is a fucking nightmare factory. Jesus Christ, do you see this? You may wonder why such a gap existed in quality between TV animation and cartoons that would play in theaters only a few years earlier. It may sound like the obvious thing to say, but really it's all in the budget. In fact, Clutch Cargo is estimated to have had a budget of only around $600 per episode. That's not even enough money for the ransom to get my son back. This vast difference in production value existed mainly because people actually had to pay to see things in theaters. This meant that studios had much more interest in putting money into theatrical cartoons, since there was more to be made back from it. By comparison, cartoons made for TV had such low budgets because animation is super expensive and cable didn't exist yet, so the only paywall to see any of it was that of buying a television, and it's not like any of that money was going to the studios. Clutch Cargo is definitely one of the more egregious examples of limited animation on TV. And to be clear, I'm not even necessarily saying I have anything against limited animation. Great cartoons have been made on a low budget with a little creativity and good writing, even back then. But overall, the fact is that these low budgets caused cartoons on TV to look less like this, and more like this,
I don't understand it.
and this,
Fates Avenger.
and this.
It could be from radioactive waste dumped into the sea back in the 70s.
Ah, it seems we finally arrived at the point. In this series, we're going to be discussing 3 specific cartoons, all of which were created by the studio Hanna-Barbera. You're probably familiar with at least a couple shows they've made, as they were basically the kings of TV animation up until around the 80s. The shows we'll be discussing in this series are Space Ghost, Birdman, and Sealab 2020. Along with the funny things that happened to them a few years down the road, but I'll get to that soon enough. For this first entry in the series, we will of course start with the one that started it all, Space Ghost, as well as his later revival, Space Ghost Coast to Coast.
Space Ghost!
The story of Space Ghost starts with the 1960s. It was the age of free love, lead, and lawn darts, but it was also the beginning of the silver age of comic books. Superhero comics in particular were tremendously popular, to the point that Hanna-Barbera decided they needed in on this whole superhero thing, so they recruited the help of cartoonist Alex Toth. Toth was already fairly renowned for his work at DC Comics in the late 40s, and he'd even had some experience in the world of animation when he worked as the art director for the show Space Angel. Huh, I guess he must have just really liked ethereal space beings.
I'll eat, Mom. I'm just not hungry yet. Oh.
Toth was the perfect choice to lead Hanna-Barbera into their new era of superhero cartoons. He would create, storyboard, and write for numerous shows for the studio throughout the mid to late 60s. The first, as well as the most famous of which, being Space Ghost, which would first air in September of 1966. Weirdly enough, only about a week after the premiere of Marvel's own block of superhero cartoons. Whether this is Hanna-Barbera intentionally trying to ride Marvel's coattails or just a coincidence is up to you, but to be fair, Space Ghost does have the better animation of the two.
Simmer down, Glamour Pants. I'm just changing a curly fuse.
Space Ghost!
The first thing you'll notice when watching Space Ghost is the intro. It's honestly pretty exciting and energetic. Just listen to that killer theremin music. It really sets the mood, getting you pumped for some mysterious and action-packed space adventures. But does the actual show live up to all this hype? I suppose it's time I let the cat out of the bag here. To be completely honest, I don't much enjoy any of these three older shows. I respect their historical importance, but I can't really find much here that's legitimately good, besides maybe the character designs, which admittedly look pretty nice, but they can't even begin to make up for the bad writing. If you're a big fan of the original Space Ghost, Birdman, or Sea-Lab, you might just want to leave, because you're gonna hate me by the end of this. I don't really see how anyone could get invested in this show unless they were like a really young kid watching it when it came out in the 60s. But even then, it was probably only good as a distraction from the threat of nuclear war. Most episodes have exactly the same setup. Space Ghost and his teenage sidekicks, Jan and Jace, as well as their monkey friend, Blip, will be in the middle of something when suddenly they encounter a wrongdoer. Of course, Jan and Jace then have to get separated from Space Ghost somehow, because that's the only way the show knows how to generate any tension, since Space Ghost is so overpowered that he can just destroy any foe immediately. The writers will often attempt to get around this by just nerfing characters randomly in contrived ways. This doesn't really work since, like I said, they do this shit pretty much every time. Typically, episodes end with some kind of exchange where a main character will try to use some kind of ray on the villain of the episode, and then he'll be like, "Nuh-uh, I've got an anti-that force field." When I explain it like this, it kinda sounds like how kids play with action figures. I wonder if that was part of the appeal somehow, like, hey kids, this show is just like playing with your friends. Okay, so I'm recording this while editing, because when I was listening back to that last part, I just now realized that basically all of these issues are literally the same as the problems I have with Dragon Ball Z of all things. Just like, replace Space Ghost and his sidekicks getting separated with, like, Goku being stuck in a healing tank for half the arc. And instead of Jan and Jace getting their shit rocked, it's Yamcha. But hey, at least Space Ghost doesn't take 60 episodes to do all that, so it's got that going for it, I guess. All this probably says something about how things are written and the nature of filler and stuff, but hell if I'm rewriting all that. Alright, back to the video now. I think a better show would just have things like that baked into the characters, like how in Superman it's established that he's weak to kryptonite, instead of having every one of his enemies randomly have Superman-proof shields for no reason. Space Ghost, of course, always overcomes these things with some equally contrived solution for everything. Oftentimes, it's just some other ray he hadn't tried yet.
We're trapped!
I'll have to use my heat force. All right, let's go.
And speaking of tension, something that I find affects the tension a lot is the acting. Characters seem to keep the same half-joking tone no matter what. It really makes it difficult to tell when something's meant to be taken seriously. I suppose nothing in the show is meant to be all too serious, but it does still give the show a really weird vibe.
Has Space Ghost returned, Jace?
He's on his way.
Clear me for entrance, like a good boy.
Like a good boy. Main entrance activated.
Thanks. Starting final approach. See you in a few minutes.
I see it as maybe more of a direction problem than anything the actors are doing wrong. They all seem pretty competent and are clearly doing their best. The actor who plays Space Ghost, Gary Owens, actually made a brief appearance reprising the role in an episode of Batman the Brave and the Bold in 2010, and he was really good there, way better than he is in this.
My stun ray should discourage that astrodactyl.
I chalk the tonal issues with the acting up to direction and just a general change over time in the way acting is done. Just compare any movie from that time to movies today and you're bound to notice how much stiffer acting used to be. The acting only really stands out to me because of all the other issues with the show. Plus, this kind of acting does still have its own sort of old-timey charm to it. Kinda makes you feel like you're about to hear an MF Doom song.
He must have gotten away the last time.
Yes, and is back to threaten the peace of the universe.
Right, Space Ghost. I issue you a challenge.
There's only one beer left. Rappers screaming all in our ears like we're deaf.
Now, to get a better understanding of what 60s Space Ghost is like, I think I should highlight a few specific episodes, starting with Wait, Moltor? I thought this character was supposed to be named Moltar. Everyone still calls him Moltar. I'm not sure if this was a mistake or what. I like to think of it like the planet he's on is called Moltor, and the episode is named Ovens of Moltor because that's where the ovens are? Well, if that's the case, is he named after the planet, or is it his planet that he named after himself? Even without the naming confusion, this is one of this show's stranger plots, which is really saying something. Right at the start, we see that Moltar is building an army of molten men by filling up these big metal jello molds with lava and somehow bringing the lava to life by injecting the molds with pure energy?
Next, I'll inject the lava-filled mold with pure energy.
Okay, I guess. He doesn't quite say it, but presumably he wants to use this molten army to take over the galaxy or universe or a small suburb outside Mobile, Alabama or something. And to accomplish this goal, he's built fucking molten rocket ships for his molten men. They don't even try to explain this one. It's so silly, I can't even be upset about it. Jan and Jace happen to be flying by during this molten test flight and end up getting used for molten target practice. Then Space Ghost has to come to the rescue as always. They get into a little scuffle and blow up Moltar's whole planet, presumably killing him, his lava army, and anyone else who may have been living there.
Not even Moltar's ovens could stand the change in temperature created by our blasting out.
All life is extinguished and no one bats a single fucking eye. Thus is the way of the universe.
Well, that takes care of the molten planet.
And Moltor.
We hope. Come on, everybody. Let's jet for home.
Wait, what did he just say? Why did he call him Moltor? Now I'm even more confused. This is probably one of the better episodes, if only for the Wacky Lava Man plot. Wacky Lava Men only get you so far though, and this still doesn't quite meet the mark of being actually good. If you just watch one episode, not even necessarily this one, the show will probably seem like just a bit of cheesy fun. But if you watch even one more, then you'll definitely start to pick up on the patterns. It gets old so fast, it's like that poop butter prank. If you just skim a tiny bit of butter off the top, that it seems like there's no problem. But go any deeper, and you'll find there's a lot of shit hiding underneath. So let's watch another episode, gang. I'm sure it'll be great. This next one's called The Challenge. It's Zorak's episode, and we're introduced to him right away, along with his identical friend. I'm not sure if they give him a name, but there's more of these Zorak lookalikes in the other Zorak episode too, and I assume they're the reason we sometimes see Zorak in different colored outfits in Coast to Coast.
Is it possible that under that red vest, he is carrying an extra set of arms?
Speaking of which, it's kind of odd seeing more than one of Zorak's species, since they're very clearly just the same model reused. And again, not to get too much into Coast to Coast, but this is something they do for comedic effect at least once in that show. It's just a bit funny seeing it being done seriously. Right as we meet Zorak, he tells us all about his foolproof plan to destroy Space Ghost using a giant robot he built named Titanor that has force ray-proof shields, because of course it does.
And now, Zorak, watch how Titanor's force shield will counter Space Ghost destructor rays.
Enough.
We then cut to the Space Ghost crew, who discover a silly little Zorak calling card with a cartoony-looking drawing of his face on it, which I love.
What do you think?
So they hop on FaceTime, and Zorak offers Space Ghost the ultimatum that if he can beat his robot, he'll leave him alone forever.
But why, Space Ghost?
You know you can't trust him.
I'll do anything to rid the universe of anyone as evil as Zorak.
I kinda like how the Space Ghost crew clearly have some history of being bothered by Zorak. He's just completely willing to jump at any chance he can get to get rid of this fucking pest, even if he knows he can't really trust him. Of course, it turns out they shouldn't have trusted him on this, because Space Ghost ends up getting his shit pushed in because of the aforementioned shield. The thing with the shield I understand, but for some reason they also revealed that earlier on, Zorak stole Space Ghost's power bands and replaced them with fakes. Not really sure why he had to give the robot a shield to defend against the power bands that Space Ghost doesn't even have, but better safe than sorry, I guess. Weirdly, something very similar happens right after this too. When Jan and Jace are stealing back the real power bands, they're clearly already invisible, but they still shoot out the lights for some reason. Like I said, better safe than sorry.
Blip, I'm going to blast out the lights. You get those power bands. Understand? Here goes.
What happened? I don't know, Master.
Meanwhile, Space Ghost has been getting his ass beat by the robot this whole time. There's this one shot of him getting beaten into the ground that I absolutely love. It's the best thing I've ever seen, and I could watch it 1,000 times.
Attack! Titanor! Attack!
Something about the slow pan down revealing what the robot's hitting. Yeah, let's see it again.
Beautiful! Beautiful!
Oh, there he goes. He's doing it again.
I can't believe it.
Oh yeah, you get him, Titanor. Anyway, they get the power bands back, and then Space Ghost gets a turn at beating Titanor into the ground. Though it's not quite as funny as it was before.
You'll have to do better than that, Titanor. Have a pile-drive raid.
But of course, in the end, Zorak gets away, since not every episode can end in planetary genocide. Instead, we end on a lovely zoom-in of Space Ghost doing a weird face. Actually, Space Ghost makes a lot of weird faces now that I think of it. Yeah, I bet you can really start to see the cracks forming now. Like I said, this stuff gets old quick. It's just like every other episode, the conflict just boils down to Titanor having a special shield, and when you think about it, the shield didn't even really affect anything, because Space Ghost was able to beat him as soon as he got his gauntlets back. Unless the shield was just to protect against the fake power bands, which doesn't really make any sense either. Yeah, that's another issue this show has a lot. Shit gets kinda convoluted. Like, on top of that whole debacle, they have the thing with Jan and Jace shooting out the lights, too. Though that part might just be an animation error. If I had one positive thing to say, it's that I find the idea of Zorak being a constant annoyance to be kind of funny. Like, he's not even a serious threat, he's just kind of always pestering Space Ghost with these stupid ultimatums like, oh, if you beat this robot, I'll go away, I promise. And Space Ghost goes along with it, even though he knows he's full of shit, because he just wants to get rid of him that bad. I think the closest that this show ever comes to being actually engaging is in the 6-part series finale. I know that sounds like a ton of episodes, but they're only 7 minutes, so it only adds up to a 40-minute total. The main reason I consider this to be the show's best is because of the sheer amount of things they throw at us.
In our preceding episodes, we have seen the most treacherous and evil enemies of the galaxy form the powerful Council of Doom, whose sole purpose is the complete and final destruction of Space Ghost.
The setup is that all of Space Ghost's previous enemies have come together to form the Council of Doom. Why does that name sound familiar? The Council's got a grand plan to take out Space Ghost once and for all. Well, maybe less of a grand plan and more like a whole bunch of little plans in a row that they're all doing separately. This results in Space Ghost consecutively trying to outwit all of the villain's various attempts to do him in. It's a lot of the same stuff you'd see in any other episode, but at a much faster pace. It never stops to let you realize that this isn't really that different. They just go straight from one hurdle to the next at a breakneck pace. It's kinda like those 21st century humor videos where none of the individual clips are that funny, but it throws so many at you in such a short amount of time that it overstimulates you into laughing. Except this overstimulates you into being excited instead. I would run you through what all happens like I did the other episodes, but for one, there's a lot to go through in 40 minutes, and secondly, the vast majority of those 40 minutes are just various repetitive obstacles for Space Ghost to overcome. It literally goes like, Council of Doom explains their plan.
Even now, our scanning devices are tracking every movement of Space Ghost as he returns to Ghost Planet.
Then Metalis launches a bunch of rockets at Space Ghost, but he gets away.
My heat intensifier ray should do the job.
Then Creature King sends a fire monster and sulfur bats after Space Ghost, but he gets away. So on and so forth. They do break it up a bit by having Space Ghost get captured for a second and things like that, and honestly that does a lot to break up the pacing, so it doesn't quite feel as much like it's just the same things happening over and over again. But that trick in itself starts to get repetitive after a few times. It also helps that just about all these episodes end in cliffhangers, which does get you slightly more invested in seeing what happens next.
Space Ghost! He's caught in some kind of ray!
Has Space Ghost been cast into another dimension, never to return? Has the Council of Doom finally sealed his fate? Stay tuned for the exciting conclusion in our next episode.
Another gimmick they've thrown in is making this not only a crossover between all of Space Ghost's villains, but also a crossover between other Hanna-Barbera shows like Mighty Midor, Moby Dick, and the Herculoids.
Help us! We're trapped in here!
Don't worry, Moby Dick the super whale will get you out. Quick, Moby, break open the space capsule.
Even if I don't know much about any of these other shows, it's still cute seeing Space Ghost interact with them. I can imagine that any kids growing up in the 60s who were into Space Ghost would have gone absolutely apeshit over this whole thing. It's everything you'd ever want. A continuous 40-minute long Space Ghost extravaganza with all your favorite villains returning. It even has the other cartoon characters you love too.
Then tell me, Shazam, is it possible you can help me back to my own dimension?
For you, it can be done.
He did it. I'm back.
These kinds of cartoons may not be my cup of tea personally, but even I have to admit that this isn't too bad. It's certainly the best that 60s Space Ghost has to offer, and you have to appreciate the effort they put in making this more exciting than your typical Space Ghost story. Overall, it's a decent set of episodes, and a fitting end for Tad Ghostal. Or is it?
Do you think the Council of Doom got away, Space Ghost?
Blip says if they did, they certainly wouldn't want to face you again.
Well, at least not as long as I have Blip on my side. Now let's head for home.
Now this would be where I go into talking about Cartoon Network and comparing the old show with Coast to Coast, but...
Space Stars!
That's right, there's actually another Space Ghost show to talk about. But first, there's a bit of an interesting history of how Space Ghost went away in the first place, and why he was able to return. In the latter part of the 1960s, there was a group gaining notoriety called Action for Children's Television, or ACT for short. Them and their leader, Peggy Charon, rallied for a higher standard in children's media. Their goals were fairly nuanced, but the main things they wanted changed were violence and advertising.
We tell them to buy the things that people who care about children don't want them to have. We advertise 900 numbers to them. The most vulnerable children to those 900 number ads are latchkey children, children home alone after school, because the parents aren't there to say, hang up the phone already. Those are the kids who can least afford the $200 bills that sometimes happen before the parents know what hit them.
Their first target was the Boston syndicated version of the educational show Romper Room, which they took aim at for having baked-in product placement. This was ACT's first major win, as they were able to pressure them into ditching this advertising method. As the group was gaining more influence within the industry, they decided their next target would be the intense, ultra-violent, blood-soaked, superhero cartoons of Hanna-Barbera? Huh.
A Magno Ray. I've got to offset it with my Thrust Ray.
Well, if you were ever wondering why Space Ghost only got 20 episodes, then this is why. ACT put pressure on the higher-ups at Hanna-Barbera, as well as members of Congress and the FCC, to get these shows off the air. It goes without saying that this strategy worked completely, and Hanna-Barbera got rid of all their action programming. This is also why they seemingly turned on a dime right at the end of the 60s and switched from mostly making shows about superheroes to mostly making shows about teenagers in bands who solve mysteries for some reason. In fact, Scooby-Doo first premiered only about a year after the end of Space Ghost. But now you may ask, why is it that Space Ghost was able to return just over a decade later? Well, we have one man to thank for that. That's right, the good old Gipper is here to bring back our freedom to watch badass cartoons with all the commercials and to die slowly of AIDS. Yeah, you heard that right. The Reagan administration's deregulation of industries, including that of children's television, was what caused the return of Space Ghost. Although technically there were never any laws in place stopping violence in cartoons, there were laws stopping advertising in cartoons. These, of course, went right out the window as soon as Reagan appointed Mark Fowler to be the new chairman of the FCC. This is just me trying to connect the dots the best I can, but I think it makes the most sense that this deregulation of advertising showed that the FCC wasn't going to be bothered by groups like ACT anymore. And in turn, neither would the studios. They took the hint that they could get away with more in cartoons now, and the violence quickly returned in full force. There was a major uptick in action cartoons in the 80s, and apparently Hanna-Barbera was quick to get the memo that they could do superhero shows again, because one of the first action cartoons of the 80s was Space Stars in 1981. Oh, and they probably also chose to bring back Space Ghost so they could cash in on Star Wars hype. No, Reagan, not those Star Wars!
Quoth the Reagan, nevermore.
One thing I noticed right off the bat about Space Stars is that it's actually a lot better than the 60s show. The animation's smoother, the action's more exciting, and the episode plots don't feel nearly as manufactured. Don't get me wrong, it's still no Bionicle 3 Web of Shadows, but I did catch myself a few times actually getting a bit invested. The acting is a bit better, but still pretty campy.
Would you like to know how I shrunk an entire planet down to the size of a teeny tiny toy?
Let me guess. You washed it in hot water.
Gary Owens returns as Space Ghost, but Jan, Jace, and Blip have been replaced with new actors who all do a fine job. One kind of odd change I noticed is that Blip the monkey went from making these cute, sort of squeaky chirping noises to now making these pretty freaky sounding screeching noises.
It's not anything to be frightened of, right, Blip?
That's showing 'em, Blip.
And fun fact, the guy making those freaky screeching noises is none other than Frank Welker, the voice of Megatron and Fred from Scooby-Doo. Those are some of his most famous roles, but he's also well known in the industry for doing a lot of different animal noises for cartoons, which is what he's doing here. And coincidentally, he voiced another famous monkey in Aladdin. As previously stated, Gary Owens is the only returning voice actor from the original series, and he plays it about the same as before, but one thing worth mentioning is that for some reason he does a bunch of one-liners now.
You'd look better in tweed, but this is all we have.
Seems like everyone was doing some kind of lines back then.
Ooh, Snortsky! Oh, Oh, that's tasty stuff!
One of the only things I can really say is missing from this show are the iconic villains from the original. There are some pretty good new ones to replace them, though. For example, there's one episode where someone called the Toymaker shrinks down the planet that Jan and Jace are on, and they don't even know. Space Ghost has to tap Morse code onto the glass the planet is encased in to explain everything. And it ends with them returning the planet to normal size, destroying the Toymaker's ship in the process, and then adding a little insult to injury while they're flying away.
You won this round, Space Ghost, but I don't give up easily.
That's because you're a born loser, Toymaker.
Damn, that wasn't really necessary. Probably the weirdest episode villain is the Sorceress. She claims to come from the dimension of science and magic, and she uses a combination of a giant computer and witchcraft to wreak havoc and attempt to make Space Ghost fall in love with her. This obviously backfires. If I had to pick a favorite, I think it would be the episode The Haunted Space Station. Space Ghost and company respond to a distress signal sent out from a space station, but when they get there, it's abandoned. They find it's overrun by these zombie vampire things called Vorvalakas. They spend a lot of the episode being chased around by these things, and they're actually kind of creepy. I see some similarities to certain monsters from Scooby-Doo, which makes sense since they're both Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So Space Ghost tracks down the guy controlling all these creatures and finds out he's going to use them to fly a fleet of ships to take over the galaxy while turning everyone into his Vorvalaka slaves. But while he's explaining all this, Jan and Jace are busy wiring the whole station to explode, as well as sabotaging the head Vorvalaka's own ship so when he takes off he just drifts through space forever. Tragic.
Now it's the Vorvalaka's turn for a surprise.
The controls! They're not responding! I'm heading out of the galaxy! No!
He'll just drift along back to his home galaxy, where he'll never harm anyone again.
It's a fairly simple plot, but it has a really good eerie atmosphere, and those zombies are genuinely pretty spooky looking. Vorvalaka, Vorvalaka, Vorvalaka. One pretty strange thing I noticed while looking into Space Stars is this one episode uploaded to YouTube that has a really out-of-place laugh track.
That cosmic storm sure came up fast. Hey, where's Blip?
I don't get a reading on him anywhere inside.
He must be outside.
Apparently this is something Cartoon Network did in the 90s to promote Coast to Coast. They'd air old episodes of original Space Ghost as well as Space Stars with an added laugh track. It's honestly pretty hilarious, especially when they use it at the most inappropriate times.
Mayday! Mayday! Galactic transport Ulysses under attack by... Here comes again, sir! Abandon ship! All hands, abandon ship!
It's a pretty clever way to add an extra layer to a show that's so simple.
We'd better get them in and treat them for radiation overdose.
Though honestly, you can't expect much complexity since these episodes are just 7 minutes long. I haven't mentioned it until now, but it is at least worth bringing up that both of these Space Ghost shows actually split their time slot with other short cartoons. The original Space Ghost had 2 actual Space Ghost segments with an episode of Dino Boy in the Lost Valley sandwiched in the middle. It's kind of a fantasy thing where this kid parachutes out of a crashing plane and lands on this crazy prehistoric island where he goes on adventures with a caveman and a dinosaur. It's not bad, just not too memorable. Also, it kinda looks like a cross between a Don Bluth movie and a Ralph Bakshi movie, except not nearly as good as either. 5 out of 10.
Yes. Ugh, die.
While the original Space Ghost was only 30 minutes, Space Stars is actually an hour-long block. Up to this point, I've been calling the 80s Space Ghost shows Space Stars just because it's easier, but really that's the name of the whole block. Technically, the show itself is still just called Space Ghost. Being an hour-long block, Space Stars is made up of 5 different cartoons, all relating to space. Again, probably to cash in on Star Wars hype. I'll go through them all quickly here. After Space Ghost, the second cartoon in the block is the Herculoids, which is actually also a revival of a 60s cartoon. It's about a family of space barbarians and their space animal friends, one of which is this thing. They get into little adventures and fight evil and stuff. Help me, I see him every time I close my eyes. 4.5 out of 10. Up next is Teen Force, a show about a group of diverse teens plus 2 little freaks who are all from somewhere called Black Hole X. They're at war with a guy called Uglor because I think he wants to take over the universe or something. Are there gonna be any cartoons without a little freak in them? Another 4.5 out of 10. And finally, there is Astro and the Space Mutts. For the record, that's a great name for a band. For no explained reason, the dog from the Jetsons can talk now, and he patrols the galaxy for evildoers with a group of zany canines and one regular-ass 80s guy.
Oh my god, his bonitis!
I was so busy being an 80s guy, I forgot to cure it.
They made the bold choice to have the first episode be a big crossover event with all the other Space Stars cartoons, and it feels very weird as an introduction. This is just proof that Space Mutts has no legs to stand on, so it just has to lean on all the other shows in the block. It's especially pathetic once you consider that none of the shows it's leaning on were even that good to begin with.
And don't forget Astro and the Space Dogs.
I wish I could.
I don't understand why Astro can talk now or how he got here, but I'm just glad to be done talking about these stupid space crime-fighting shows because they're basically all the same. At least I can say this one has its own little freak. I rate 4 Crabmen out of 10. So, now that we're done with that little tangent, it's time to finally move on to...
To be continued in part 2.
Do you think the face paint guys ever explored each other's bodies?
I hope so. Folks, all right, well, we'll just jump right into it then, because like anyone on the Patreon has heard us talk shit about Craig. Welcome to Monday Night Fake Fights yet again. Tis I, Garrick Taylor, she, they, and I'm back with the unbelievable task I've given myself of watching the Monday Night Wars from beginning to end. We're 8 episodes in. I still don't regret it, but let me tell you, fucking pushing it. So my latest victim is my good dear friend, the Emperor of the Internet. My guest today.
I'm Kennedy Cooper. They, them, and I guess I'm a Monday Night Warrior now.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, no. All right, we're going to workshop that. But yes, you are. You have been drug in, and I'm not sorry at all. But I will say, having watched the Raw this week, I did that to you. Yeah. But welcome to this wonderfulness. What, if anything, do you have as a history with the Sport of Kings? Did you watch? Did you not watch? Where are you at on that?
So I have very little experience with wrestling overall. I watched a tiny bit of wrestling growing up simply because if you were a child of that era, sometimes you just watched whatever was on television.
I know. Let's say our younger viewers, I'm realizing, probably don't get that at all, huh? Or younger listeners, I should say.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Well, now I feel old. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I grew up watching it occasionally, but it was the sort of thing that for me, I watched when, again, there was nothing else to watch. It wasn't really my choice. And so, and often it'd be something that's like, you're playing with Legos in the background.
Yeah. It's there. They had Saturday morning programming. It was bound to show up.
Yeah.
Outside of that, not so much.
Not much, really. Otherwise, the only thing that I got a little bit of experience with outside of that was Kaiju Big Battle.
Yeah, which is fucking awesome, and I'm so happy it exists, and thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, it just happened to be at the right place at the right time a little bit with that one in terms of its cultural moment.
Yeah.
And so
I know some people, hardcore old school wrestling folks, will shit on that kind of stuff, and I would like them to go fuck off and yell at a cloud about it. Because if we broke kayfabe, then like we broke kayfabe. Vince did that. It's dead. Everyone knows it all now. So like, what's the problem with having as much fun with that as possible?
Right.
Yeah, and people always say about like Ric Flair or other people, for the longest time, I guess like in the business, amongst the boys or whatever, you'd say someone could have a 5-star match with a broomstick, and they just know how, if they're a really good worker, that's the real magic of it. And it's like, okay, well, now when people go out and actually wrestle a blow-up doll and have a 5-star match with it, you don't get mad, dude.
Yeah. And also, I thought the concept of having the like cardboard buildings, pretending you're like a big monster and destroying a city, that was fun.
Like, let's go. That's fine. I love that shit because it's embracing the more theater aspect of what is essentially jock theater.
Right.
And God, I love that shit. See also, oh fuck, what was it called? It's on my list of shit I have to watch. They made this really awful horror. This guy wanted to make like a horror movie, wrestle movie combo, and he got a bunch of wrestlers and shit into it, and it's literally like Frankenstein versus the Wolfman in matches in like a tournament. And like Jimmy fucking Hart's in it, so like you see him today in Nitro. It's like several people who we actually like saw this week in action are in this fucking movie. And they're all the kinds of guys who'd be pissed about this stuff if you did at a wrestling show, but because they're getting paid $2,000 to do it for like Asylum Productions or whoever fucking did it, then it's fine, bro. It's fine. Yeah. Fuck. Kevin Nash specifically can eat every dick. But no, I love that shit. Like that's to me is the real magic of it, is when you embrace that. So fuck yeah, kaiju battles, let's roll.
Yeah, that was a good time, and it was fun for me, and it helped me to appreciate wrestling a little more.
Yeah.
Because it was just so goofy and didn't take itself too seriously at all. But it still had some real wrestling in it, and it was the sort of thing that got some of my friends into wrestling. I have an old friend that I mean, more of an acquaintance really, but someone that I've known vaguely for a long time that is a wrestling ref now for a local promotion, and I know that Kaiju Big Battle is a small part of that story.
Oh yeah, no, that's so cool. Fuck yeah, I'm not gonna lie. If COVID weren't a thing, I would be trying to be like a ref or a commentator at the local fucking. I know I would have way too much fun. I love refs.
Oh, yeah.
Refs are the under appreciated people in the whole thing, because they're basically the stage manager. Like they're got the person in their ear telling them how much time's left. They have to like remind you of this spot. Like they know everything that has to fucking happen from beginning to end. And like you gotta like do it, and they gotta just like go with it when shit doesn't work. So that's fucking awesome. Refs deserve way more credit.
Yeah, I know he works really hard, this guy.
Yeah, for sure. And I get mad at people who like get mad when the refs become too much a part of it. Especially now, and that really falls into like older wrestlers getting mad at the fact that there's new refs, and especially lady refs. Everybody loves to shit on Aubrey Edwards, who is in AEW. She's fucking awesome. She's my favorite ref. She's the perf. She knows, she gets the assignment. She's so good at it. Like, fuck all of you. Like, fuck everyone that doesn't like Aubrey Edwards. You can fucking come at me. Do not care. And yeah, and she gets involved, but like look at like the Hebner twins, like literally got involved with a switcheroo so that Hulk didn't have to lose clean in the 80s. Because brother, I can't do that, it's in my contract. They had twin brothers switch out so that the pinfall didn't count. And like that and like you tell me that's not getting the ref involved? Fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get into it with some of these eps, but you could see that the refs were in on a few stunts in some of these as well.
I was gonna say, that's as good of you mentioning goofiness is as good of enough transition to any into what I think is Raw, because what the fuck? Yeah. Let's talk about Raw, because Jesus, goofy Christ.
So, 1995, I was a small child, and in some ways, I was the target audience for this sort of material to some extent. And I mean, you look at the crowd at this event, and there's lots of kids, lots of little ones. Wrestling isn't only for kids or anything like that, but it is somewhat family friendly.
Well, especially in 1995. That's I think where that disconnect comes from is it was still very much they wanted those kids to be the target audience. They wanted you to be the target audience.
Yeah. So I, in theory, should have enjoyed it more. But this is back in the era where you don't get to pick what you watch. You just watch what's available.
Exactly. Remember, don't ever think you don't have it good, kids. You can complain about streamers all you want.
You can complain about a lot of things, but the entertainment is pretty good right now. So I didn't get that much exposure to Nitro. I saw more Raw in this era of childhood. And I think, watching this, I think it really makes sense of why I may not have been that much of a wrestling fan for a lot of my life. This was a lot of what I was exposed to when I was young, and this shit was bad. Yeah,
it is rough. You picked a rough one. Yeah, from the intro on, the intro is far from its Attitude Era greatness. I think they're on like their third song now since we started doing this. Vince is still on commentary, which is just not good. He's a fucking monster outside of the fact, but you can also, it's like Eric Clapton. Someone was talking about that shit today. Not only is he a horrible human being, he's not that good at the thing he's famous for. And that's how I feel about Vince on commentary.
Yeah, Vince is not a very engaging or funny commentator.
He says shit weird. He says shit weird. Wrestling. Welcome, everyone. What is he? I don't understand. It's like not even an accent. It feels like a tick almost. It's so weird.
Yeah, it's weird. The other commentator is a little bit. Who's the other guy that's doing most commentating here?
That's what we would call your color man. That is Jerry the King Lawler, who was he built the Memphis territory, basically. Him and Jimmy Hart, who we'll see in Nitro later, and a bunch of other stuff. He's like a pretty big deal. He is a horrible human being, and the fact that he isn't going to die in jail sucks. He's like, well.
He doesn't seem that likable. I'm just saying he was like 10% funnier.
Oh no, and I wrote down in my notes it brings me no pleasure to report that the King was kind of on fire today. And when JR takes over, once he get rid of Vince and he's got someone that he can get a real chemistry with, you can understand why. And he's he's the voice of my childhood, Kennedy. Him and JR, that's the voices of wrestling to me. It wasn't until the last 3 or 4 years I learned anything about him outside of that, and it's not good. It's not good, and now he lives a very sad, weird, awkward Instagram life, and I will be happy when he's gone. And outside of that, that's why I will just generally refer to him and JR as just the chuckle fucks. From the voice of my youth to those chuckle fucks. No, he was 10 to 15% funnier than Vince, though. And I mean, but they have a lot to work with, because the goofiness, the first thing we get to is this battle royal where they're just pulling anyone they can out of the roster. and you're seeing it's kind of great because it's exactly what we're talking about when you said with the target demographic of the little kids. We're seeing that on full display because you have, Aldo Montoya, the Portuguese man of war, looking like a Mortal Kombat character of some sort. More on that later. With that fucking snow.
This battle royale sucks.
It sucks.
I don't know that much about wrestling, and so I can't really speak to like what is a great battle royale. Does such a thing exist? I don't really know. All I know is that watching this was confusing as hell. Felt like they just threw the entire dishwasher of the roster into the ring. It was like impossible even for the referees to like make much of it most of the time.
Yeah. And it's absolutely
commentators or anybody like anybody trying to like make anything interesting out of this was like pretty fucking challenging.
And I would love to like put blame on Vince for that because I like blaming Vince for everything, or WWE in general. That's just a battle royal. Like that's why, like, holy fuck, like the guys in there can only do so much. The ref can only do so much because it's something that really exists back from when it was just a live Carney show, where you're in front of a live crowd and like, then it works great because there's a lot for them to look at and they can't even hear the commentator,
Right.
and
I can see that playing a little bit better in front of a real crowd.
But when you try to translate that to television, it doesn't work well. And that's
especially in this form.
Yeah. And they know better because at this point Pat Patterson has already invented the Royal Rumble, which he came up with to fix this. And that's where they start with two people and it's staggered entry. And it's the same rules over the top rope, last man wins. But you don't start out with 20 sweaty guys just kind of hugging for a while until you get to that really great, like last 10 minutes that it had, where there's just the four guys and then it's down to Marty Jannetty and Owen Hart. Again, Marty Jannetty, probably the only one in there with a body count. And, I'd like to think that helped his case. But yeah, there's just they threw everybody in there. Yeah. Oh yeah. You mentioned you were a Jannetty fan.
Yeah, I don't know much, but I know I like Marty Jannetty.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a very confusing, very boring spectacle for the start.
And it took half the show.
It working a little bit better as a live thing, but also I could even see it working better on camera if the camera work was good.
Yeah.
The camera work is really, really dull and sloppy.
They haven't quite figured it out. And they got mostly the hard cam, that fixed hard cam, and like there's always so much you can do with it. I think it ended great.
It does end pretty strong.
And you get Harakushi in there. Anytime you can see him, that makes me happy. The one Japanese wrestler in WWE at this time, I think that's actually Japanese. Whereas Yokozuna is American Samoan. Uncle Roddy, love you. Bloodline. Still, that family really does just exist through all of it. I also love, I wanted to mention, because this is the first time I think that they brought up, so he's actually shown up. So for listeners, I am not a professional, so I did not do the work and find it. But you can get on Twitter and search for that dude, Harakushi, and there's someone who put a thread up a while ago of all the letters he sent back to Japan, to the Japanese dirt sheets, basically. And in Japan, it's a whole different culture where, like, it's a lot more about the athletics, but they still keep kayfabe, but no one really fucking believes it. So he's sending these letters about his excursion of wrestling in the biggest federation in America in character. And there's nothing fucking, I've never seen anything like it. He's so cool, and the whole experience is awesome. So I want to tell people, go look for that. I will put something in the notes. but he shows up for like a little bit and gets tossed out, and I'm so sad. But yeah, the whole thing was a clusterfuck.
There was one guy, I'm not sure who he was. You couldn't even figure it out.
Yeah, that fucker.
That he just kind of bailed at one point during the match. Like, nobody's really forcing him out of the ring. And he just kind of like, oh, I'm falling down and sliding out for some reason his way. For some reason, the camera decided to show us that in detail. That was one of the funniest moments. Towards the end of the match, when it got down to like, I would say the final 6 to final 4 territory, it got pretty good.
After like
Owen
2
Hart,
commercial breaks, yeah.
Owen Hart, I remember when I was a kid being very popular. And even though WWF in this era doesn't have a lot of stars on the main stage at an event like this, which will change in a year or two, but
yeah, they're gonna have to, yeah.
But you know, at this stage, they're still struggling with that. But Owen Hart, you know, that's somebody that people kind of recognize, kind of like. And he had that ability to kind of be a heel, but like you were allowed to like him without being a complete asshole. Like there's some wrestlers that if you're like, that's my favorite wrestler, it's like, okay, well, you're automatically a tool then.
Yeah.
But if you were like, well, Owen Hart's one of my favorites, it didn't necessarily mean you were a jerk.
Yeah. I might take some heat, but I'm looking at you, AJ Styles fans. But on top of it, no, I totally get it. You can, and I think it shows in the post match interview, because like Jerry pops him talking shit about his old ass parents. And like, because that's the whole thing is the King hates the Hearts, and like he's constantly getting on him, and Owen's just like smiling, and you can tell he forgets he's supposed to be scowling, and then he just like goes to talk and he turns the scowl on. And I'm just like, yeah, you can't help it. You know that like he is known for being the funniest wrestler in the back of all time. Everyone legitimately loved him. So like the fact that he was coming out and being a heel, he was just having fun with it to the best of his ability. And God, he's so good at it. And then stealing his brother's line at the end, setting up all kinds of good shit. Owen, God, I love Owen. Yeah.
The King. Hold on, I wrote this down. Hold on. The King says to Owen Hart something about his Jurassic Park.
Jurassic
parents.
Park. Yes. It's Jurassic Park because it's topical. Yeah, that wasn't too long ago.
Oh,
Jurassic
so
Park.
funny. I want to mention a couple more things.
Yes, please.
I think it was maybe it was Psycho Sid, or I don't know. I'm sorry. You have to forgive me. One of the guys that they did like a little bit of intros to the Battle Royale.
There was
where, like,
two that got actual
couple of guys got to like say stuff. And these guys did not perform that well in the Battle Royale, which made it even funnier in a way. But one of them was like, I think it was Psycho Sid, was like, he was like whispering.
Yeah, that's Sid. That's it. He whispers and he doesn't do
Master, I'm the ruler. And it's like
of the world. Yeah.
What the fuck?
That was like all he had. And this is the thing. He's like pretty much a veteran at this point. Like that's a guy who has held the world title. And this is the best he could do. We now know that he just like did not give a shit. For like he was one of those dudes not there. He's not like Shawn Michaels, who was there because he loved wrestling and it was what he says. He was there for the drugs and the girls. But you know, he was there because it was a paycheck, and like often like skipped out to play softball on his local softball team and not show up to like pay-per-views and shit. I can't make it. I'm sorry. I will not be showing up. But yeah, they gave it to him, and I was like, all right. He gets an entrance, and then they give an entrance to fucking Mayor Kane, fucking Glenn Jacobs in his crazy dentist gear, which that's gotta end soon. But that we've talked about him so much. We've talked about so much on the show already, and I'm just like, I can't wait to be over this, because he ended up being that That's what's crazy about the Attitude Era. That motherfucker was one of my favorite wrestlers growing up, just not that way. They turned him into the Undertaker's brother, and then he's fucking awesome.
Also, as soon as the Battle Royale started in earnest, the frame rate started to stutter, and I think that was on the recording end.
Yeah.
Because I watched a few clips of this in different versions, and it's always like that.
Yeah, that's just how it was, and we liked it. We loved it. Before wrestling was in HD, which is not necessarily a good thing to have wrestling in HD.
Vince McMahon thinks Portugal is extremely exotic. I think that's exciting. You touched on that already, but I just really needed to say that.
Yeah, I touched on that when we were watching it because, like, Aldo Montoya, it's like, well, what's your thing going to be? Well, I'm Portuguese, and it's like, I'm a man of war, a Portuguese man of war, and that's it.
I'm sure you make a lot of in-your-house jokes already on this show. I just want to quickly say that when one of the announcers said Razor Ramon was in your house last night, I was really uncomfortable.
As he should be. No one wants Scott Hall in their house overnight. Oh God, that reminds me. They showed him because the whole point was that whoever won that battle royal was gonna have to fight him for the belt that Shawn lost because he fucked around and found out. And he just is standing there like I guess he was talking, but he just looked drunk, and he probably was. Razor, and yeah, no, you don't want that in your house at all. I guess I'll say the only reason I feel like we could say as many in your house jokes as we want is because they don't fucking let up about that shit. They really don't. They're trying to drive that shit home. That's why, like, I will, on the Nitro side, I will always make fucking jokes about the big boys because that's all they're gonna it's all where the big boys play. And it's like, no, I'm going to mock you for your silly marketing. I feel like I can do that. That's okay now. Fuck, you guys made that shit shitty. And they do in your house lasted, I want to say, till like 98 before they dropped that. And wow. They just, they really held on to that. I will say it is the pay-per-view like set piece of my youth, especially because like the tapes, I watched all the in your houses on cassette tapes rented from Blockbusters. So like I see that little fucking house set and I'm just like, yeah, that pleases me. That hits the cockles nice and warm. But they move, then they do all the QVC shit, Doc Hendricks doing his shit, trying to get us hype for the next.
It's because you called this the Attitude Era, right?
Not yet. We are getting it. This is the pre-Attitude Era.
Proto Attitude.
We are heading into it. This is the end of what was called the New Generation Era, which was the worst era in the history of the WWF. Hands down. Yeah. It's real bad. Stone Cold is coming to save us. He's not here yet. I think
there's something about the aesthetics of this era that make the in your house thing even worse.
Yeah.
Because it's like I could see like going way back to like a much earlier era of wrestling when it was like these like largely friendly strong men and even the heels like didn't really seem so bad.
They just seemed like the rough guy at the bar you didn't want to fuck with.
If they were like, oh, it's Jumpin' Jack in your house tonight, you'd be like, oh, that doesn't sound so bad, you know? But instead they're like, it's Gnarly Joe and Scuzzy Steve in your house tonight. And then they show you the picture and like they're both wearing like cleaners outfits that look like they've never been washed and like they've been rolling around in pig shit all day, and they're both wearing like
that's a Godwin,
they're both wearing like black bandanas that say "I'll kill you," you know. It's like these guys are in your house tonight. Please don't let those guys in my house, please.
Police, mods. Yeah, no, it's not good. It's the juxtaposition. They're very fucking confused. Like they're so confused and they're hurting.
Like it would be much better marketing to be like, you don't want these guys anywhere near you. And I'd be like, yeah, dude, that is exactly how I feel looking at some of these dudes right now. Like I really don't want to be around them at all. Yeah, that's our marketing. You don't want to be around these guys at all. Like that would be that could work, you know? But instead they're like, let this sweaty, half naked, 7 foot tall guy who hates you into your bedroom.
Who's literally based on Scarface, Tony Montana. Hey, let this quote unquote Cuban drug dealer in your house. He's drunk. Did I mention he's drunk and he's Scott Hall? He's also on somas, and yeah, he's sleeping right now. So yeah, but when he wakes up, oh bud, he's the Intercontinental Champion. Holy shit! Yeah, so they had to throw that together to make that seem like a thing.
That's my
good.
Contribution to the ongoing
going in your house
course that I'm sure is going on this podcast.
I'm on the Patreon too, because then we watch him and Vince is saying it every fucking 15 seconds in your house. It's happening in your house. And it's just like, Vince, get the fuck out of my house, please. Like
You have to be invited in. You're a vampire.
Yes, exactly. I've watched you suck blood. Look at John Cena. What did you do to him? Like, what the fuck? He can't even see himself in a mirror. Man. Yeah, holy shit.
John Cena.
Oh, he was recently in a documentary about Bray Wyatt, rest in peace, and he literally just looks like Vince McMahon.
You gotta bring me back for something good with John Cena in it.
All right, that I can do. We do a lot of Patreon stuff where we watch stuff outside of the Monday Night War mandate, and that's where we get that kind of fun shit. I will invite you back for one of those. Maybe a Hazards Are Real.
In the wars?
No, he came late. He didn't show up until after WCW was dead.
Wow.
Yeah, no, he was like the next big thing.
To watch these back to back and think of WWF is extremely successful now and WCW is dead, because it really, wow.
Yeah, the difference is because, the next thing they give us is Al Snow as a Mortal Kombat character, because they have the Karate Fighter tie-in that we also saw. And that's literally what that was. They're like, you need a character. We need something to tie in with the Karate Fighters.
Wait, you're forgetting something important.
Wait, what did I miss?
Way too much time hyping up a 4 versus 4 match.
Oh, yeah.
And
Survivor
really,
Series.
Really failing to make it sound exciting. And also the cards don't make sense. And it's just a confusing situation. And then for some reason they give the voice spot for this 4x4 to Ahmed.
Yeah, Ahmed Johnson.
One of the wrestlers that's the least popular of the bunch, and is like they do the least when they're going through and naming them, they're like trying to like hype up a lot of them, and they don't hype up Ahmed. They're just like, and Ahmed will be there, and like they don't hype him up. But then for some reason he gets the voice line.
Well, I think it's because he hasn't even really debuted yet. So they're literally, this is them trying to hype him up. That's what's fucked up, Kennedy.
They're not doing it.
Exactly. But that's why it seems so weird, is they are literally trying to hype him up by saying, and we don't know him, he's a mystery, and here he is.
They didn't even say it like that. They didn't even be like, and the mysterious new contender Ahmed or something. They literally just they're going like, the unpredictable loose cannon Psycho Sid will be there, and then they're like, and Ahmed
Johnson.
That's it. Like.
That's it. Yeah.
What? But then they put him on screen after like not making him sound exciting, and he goes, brother, I'll show you the true meaning of medieval, which just felt so random.
Now, he manages to be in the company for quite some time after this. He was a childhood favorite. I started watching after he'd actually shown up. But, like, they did him no favors, and you are seeing
him being fine. It's just that this intro is bizarre.
No, it really is. And they didn't know what to do with him, and it really, like, the truth of the matter is...
I'll show you the true meaning of medieval. Like, what kind of character are you?
You know, we're going to go, and, like, he has been the subject of Vince McMahon's There Were Signs segment before on this show. And there's like reasons for that. It could have been worse, Kennedy. They literally were going to call him Buck Johnson. And like they could not. This is the racism. They so much didn't understand what to do with this guy. And all they knew is that he's black. That's all they could do. And like some of the promos that they gave him, some of the wording that Vince has used around him was just like, oh my fucking God. And it's like, well, we're not going to call him Buck, we'll call him Ahmed or Ahmed Johnson. It's like, all right, we see what you're doing, motherfuckers. I didn't see it because I was 8. You know, I just saw this dude who is awesome and has an awesome finisher, the Coral River Plunge, which is like a tiger bomb, tiger driver, and it's fucking awesome. I loved him as a kid, but watching this shit back is like been like, oh my God, no wonder he didn't last. They didn't want him to succeed. Like, clearly, if this is the push they're giving him.
No, this was not a friendly.
Yeah, exactly.
A friendly intro. This was a very rough intro. By comparison, we also see Avatar introed. He gets a much nicer intro, even though objectively sucks ass.
Al fucking Snow, and yeah.
They also talk up. Am I mixing this up? But they talk up Gold Dust in this, right?
They do bring up Gold Dust a little bit because he's getting ready to see his debut. On the next In Your House, In Your House 4.
And they just give him a brief little teaser, but it's really good. It's like, he's glamorous, he's mysterious, he's freaky. What is Gold Dust? He's coming to TV next week. It's like, okay, tell me more. Like, I'm pretty into this shit.
Now that's what we're transitioning into because he had just debuted. So like this is his young,
and I know you'll do me right and bring me back for some Gold Dust, but
yes, absolutely, because he's a big part of that changeover too, because it's like, oh my God, gender, what's gender? Check it out, next week we show gender.
Next week we're gonna have gender on the WWE. That is basically the promo, the vibe.
Yeah.
We're bringing you guys gender to WWE. Are you ready?
It's gonna be uncomfortable. Let's go.
Let's go. How many genders are there? And then you pan to Vince McMahon going, I don't know. I just got here.
I haven't figured it out yet. I have to talk to legal. Pat Patterson was going to bring something up about it. The one gay guy he knows. Yeah, Jesus Christ. So, yeah, it's a clusterfuck, and he will end up having to talk to people from GLAAD. But that's not Dustin's fault. Gold Dust really did the best he could. And I'm happy it looks like.
And there's some fun stuff to be had there for sure.
Oh, there's a lot of it.
I'm excited about that.
There's also some not so fun stuff, blackface, that is to be had there. But it's just.
I mean, whenever you're rocking that kind of makeup, you're always towing a line, you know?
Yeah, and they really leaned into it.
Also, like, Gold Dust was usually gender in a good way, but similarly, occasionally.
Gender in a bad way.
Gender in a bad way. But with that, let's not get too off track here. The moral of the story is they have a little promo for Gold Dust, and it is a promo that makes you want to see this new wrestler.
Exactly. It does its job.
Avatar kind of in the middle. Ahmed, they did not make me excited to see Ahmed at all.
And Avatar, I kind of can't understand the push. We talked about it a little bit when we were watching it, because they set him up like someone that they were going to give a push, you know, and they put him out there with a jobber for his debut. and he like comes on. They're trying to like say like he's this great thing, and the crowd is fucking silent.
The crowd is booing a little at a couple points.
But yeah, like, that's because getting into the match itself, they fucking sucked. Like they sucked.
Avatar's whole look is dumb.
Yeah.
Also, this guy's face looks stupid, which they're almost trying to solve this problem.
Oh no.
And I want to be clear, it's not like he has like some sort of inherently unfixable face. Nobody does. But that like I'm 13 and I'm so excited about my first mustache thing he has going on. Woof.
It
Not
ends up
good.
It fills out when he becomes Al Snow. It has filled that has filled out, and it does very much fix problems associated with his face. I'll give
and
him
I get
that.
it. You don't have the strongest jaw. A little facial hair might help.
It do.
Well, actually, no. Let me take that back. You don't have the strongest jaw. A lot of facial hair might help. A little facial hair is hurting.
It's hurting. Yeah, it's drawing attention to the problem, buddy. And he figures it out. Maybe don't put the mask on after you've walked out. That's another thing.
That was another point I was going to make is like, okay, you don't have the strongest jaw. Leave the mask on the whole fucking time.
Can I tell you Can I tell you why? Because I do know why. He had built in his mind that he's trying to work this character in the idea that the canon story that he was trying to build with this character is that clearly he is a white dude who's being presented as a martial arts master. So the idea is it's like a Billy Batson situation where he puts the mask on, says Shazam, and gets the powers of the Avatar. That's what he's trying to convey by not walking out with the mask on, is that when he puts the mask on, he is a different person, and that's why he's the Avatar. He is the avatar of a kung fu master that takes over his body when he puts the mask on. Ladies and gentlemen, Alfred Snow was trying to make us believe this in this match.
Trying so hard. And I just want to say, I looked up pictures of how he looks later on when he grows out the mustache. And
yeah, Job Squad Al Snow. And yeah,
starts just being more of like a guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, this look works.
Much better. Yeah, absolutely.
Much better look for this guy's face. The way he's sculpting that facial hair, it hides that slightly lacking jawline and makes him look much cooler. And I also think the letting the long hair fly instead of like the weird ponytail thing.
Yeah, he learned a lot.
For this. It frames his head better and stuff. He comes out there looking like a dude that tried to bully you in high school and then you beat him up. And I want to be clear that no matter who you are, like no matter how wimpy you were in school or whatever, like this was the guy that you were still able to beat up.
Yeah, you still were like, I could probably I
could probably take this fucking guy that keeps trying to bully me and is obviously a nerd. And then like you punch him in the face one time and he cries a lot.
Yeah, no, everyone has that. Mine's name was Nate. Yeah, everybody had that.
Yeah, I knew this guy, Matt, that like, I've told versions of this story to lots of people in lots of settings, but I don't know how much of it exactly has been on podcasts. But the very brief version that you need here is just that, when I was a freshman in college, I thought that I was going to get into a real fight with this guy one time. And I threw a punch at him, fully expecting that we were going to, throw blows and it might not be fun. And I punched him right in the soft meat of his right shoulder, and he just started crying. And that was the end of that. So, you just never know sometimes, I guess. And
you never know, yeah.
This guy looks like if you punched him in the face, he'd start crying. And that's Avatar. And then he puts on the mask. The mask makes him look 10% cooler, but the whole outfit looks shitty as fuck. So even with the mask, it's still bad. The quality of the wrestling is very poor. You can tell that this Brian guy is going to lose from the start. He's like the jobberest jobber that ever jobbered.
And we are in the era of jobber, right? Like, we are still really hard in the era of guys with no names. Who, like, you're like, who? What's his name? Something Lodge? I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter.
His name is like Brian something.
Yeah,
he's wearing
not fucking matter.
Like blue spandex underwear, and that's it.
Basically,
like
and
no outfit.
And I just, goddamn, did they set this up thinking that like this Avatar is gonna really go, and it just didn't because they suck so bad. They botched so many spots. He like fell off the top rope and then did like the springboard kind of launch anyway into a plancha, which was like, okay, you made up for it. That's good. I just saw it was funny because Vince is like a most unusual maneuver, which is Vince talk for he fucked that up. And you catch that when you like watch enough wrestling. When you watch enough wrestling, you start to notice that's a most unusual maneuver, which means fucker, do it right. Fucker. He's gonna get screamed at later. Like, goddamn. But no, he clearly fucked up. But they tried, and WCW is going to have its own version of this because what's really going on is that Mortal Kombat's big. That's really that's why Avatar exists. WCW is going to have Glacier, where you're going to have that to look forward to. And holy fuck. I mean, it's so blatant of a ripoff that it's honestly hilarious. But yeah, so they do that. Whoop-de-doo. I will say I am so happy with this main event though. Like, holy shit, this was awesome because we're 8 episodes into this and I think it's the first women's match on Raw, like, at all. And they fucking killed it.
Before we get there though, one quick thing.
Oh, yes, please.
They were selling cardboard cutouts.
Oh yeah.
Of the wrestlers.
With Sean and Brett.
And this motherfucker goes, imagine Bret Hart at your dinner table. No!
No! Stop! And it's like, that's the same. I just had this fucking nightmare. Get out of my house. I don't want Bret in my fucking kitchen table. He's probably high and he's Canadian. He's going to want maple syrup on everything. I don't got poutine. It's just fucked up. Like, I don't got cheese curds on hand. And yeah, the whole thing was fucking weird. That's the Raw right now is so like this. It's QVC-ized at this point. So much of it is just trying to sell shit, and they haven't gotten good at integrating it more into the show. And it's more blatantly like, this is Doc Hendricks on QVC, and it just hurts my soul every time. Almost as much as it hurts my soul knowing that I was about a year off of starting watching wrestling at this point as a kid, which means I missed this kind of women's wrestling on TV because like you're seeing this and I want you to like understand that like for the most part, women's wrestling like this did not exist when I was a kid, even a year after this. And not in the WWE, at least. It existed other places, but if you're like me and all you saw was WWE, I had no idea that women were wrestling like this before like the 2000s because of Moolah. It's a very long story, and I don't want to get into it because it's just so much. But Dark Side of the Ring did a whole episode on it. Fabulous Moolah had like a chokehold on women's wrestling at WWE, especially. So when I was a kid, all you saw was like old lady wrestlers, and it was all like a joke, and models who they taught to kind of wrestle. So seeing Alundra Blaze versus Big Bertha was fucking amazing, and they put on a banger of a match, like better than anything else on the show.
Really worth it.
Yeah, that's why I say it was better than anything else just to get that.
Yeah, so this was a pretty good payoff. Again, we had to get through half the episode is
just that rumble.
A shitty rumble. Avatar has a horrible debut.
You were selling you a bunch of stuff. Survivor Series is looking weird.
I don't side with Vince McMahon often, but if Vince McMahon went backstage and fucking laid into Avatar, I approve.
Yeah, no, he had that shit coming. And he didn't get better until he went to ECW, basically, until he left the company. They did not know what to do with him there. But yeah, this whole episode could just be titled Avatar fucking sucks. No, not that one. Yes, that one. And this one. Yeah.
But the Alundra Blaze Big Bertha match, incredible. Lots of really impressive maneuvering, athleticism. I would say that, like, you know, sometimes you can kind of tell whether or not wrestlers have done dry runs of a match.
Yeah.
Because there is like an improvisational aspect to wrestling to some extent.
Especially at this period of time, yeah.
And so sometimes, you know, you just throw some folks in a ring and they haven't really practiced this or anything, but they know how it's supposed to go down. They're going to send each other cues and they're going to make it work, right?
Yeah.
This was not like a highly unscripted match.
Yeah, you could tell that they had worked it out. And like, I think I talked about it before with you when we watched it. I'm guessing probably because they're like, this is a big deal that we get to do this because there's never women's matches.
Right.
This is like, so like they probably really did like work it out to make sure they were giving it their fucking best because
I'm sure they improvised a little in the moment just based on, you know, like you're going to try something in practice and then you're going to do it in real life, and you're going to find that after the end of maneuver, you're closer together or farther apart than you expected to be or something like that.
You got to switch it up.
You got to switch it up, right? And so you could tell there was some improvisation going on, things like that, but like you could also tell they'd worked out a lot of these big beats and maneuvers in advance, that they had practiced them together.
They'd probably ran. That's the other thing. It's not even so much as practice as they were probably doing this match at house shows. So like they've probably ran this match several times in front of a crowd, just not on television.
Right.
So that's probably where a lot of that's coming from too. And it really shows. And it really just comes off to the fact that like the women had to work 10 times harder because fucking Al Snow could go out there in his debut and do that and still get another chance later on as a member of a tag team that they're trying to bring back. And like, whereas like, I'm guessing if they had gone out there and fucking sucked, Big Bertha would never be seen again. I don't know if she was anyways, just because of how it ended up working. I had memory hold Big Bertha. I was vaguely familiar with her. Fucking goals. Her whole everything, it felt like the first coming of Willow Nightingale, who is an amazing wrestler now, who like has the similar aesthetic as far as the colors and shit. And her whole thing is just like life sucks, smile anyway. And like, I love Willow, and Big Bertha was showing me Willow vibes. And I was just impressed with just the match and just happy with the outfit. We joked about the representation of fucking super skinny guy super in love with the big chick. Love to see it. Thank you.
Yeah, the skinny guy, big lady thing. They were really playing up that bit.
As a big lady,
honestly,
I appreciate it.
It was kind of funny.
It was kind of funny, and I was like, "Yeah, let's go. That's awesome." And you know, like Vince probably just got such a hoot out of that, and like he's like, "Oh, it's so funny. Someone want to have sex with a fat person." I'm over here like, lots of people want to have sex with fat people. I want to have sex with fat people. like that's not funny to me. That's the other thing too. I want to bring up. Speaking of sex with fat people. How, you mentioned it when we were watching it, how fucking sapphic as fuck this match was. It was hot. And like all wrestling is gay. This was real gay. Like at one point, Alundra goes to give her a power bomb, and just like you can tell she's trying to show off I think she's trying to like show off that she's like going for like the big reach around on the big Bertha to show that it's like a big deal that she's going to try to lift her. But she's just in reality, like running her hands around her sides as she goes to grab around her waist with her head stuck between her legs and then clenching. And I'm just over here like, I need a fucking cigarette. Holy shit. Like, you're never going to get her up. Oh my God. And like, just.
Yeah, I'm going to print out that frame where Bertha's just sitting on Alondra.
Yeah. Then when she did the sit down. Yeah.
Just print that out, put it on the wall.
Just goals.
Right. Goals. Yeah.
yeah. Goals. Big lady sit on. Yeah. There you go.
Amazing stuff.
Great ending too with the German suplex with the bridge on Big Bertha, which is like not easy on either person, and she just fucking did it and won the championship with it, and it's like that was awesome, and you could see on her face too, she's like legit emotion that she won this championship. But I feel like everyone on commentary, everyone around her is treating it like kind of a woo, go you, good, well done.
Well, I think people kind of also tend to like be like, whatever, you fake won the fake championship, and it's like, okay, but like the amount of athleticism that goes into this performance is like way beyond what you could do.
And these are people, and a lot of times, especially on the what we know now about what coming up as a women's wrestler under Moolah was like. You go through a fucking lot to get there. She was legitimately emotional. Like the people are like, it's whether it's fake. She had to survive some fuck shit to get to that point. And they're, pointing it off like it's nothing. And spoilers, that's going to lead to some historic shit in our journey on Nitro. Because Alondra is going to leave Vince's ass. And I can't wait for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, that's the end of Raw, because fuck. Oh, well, actually, not quite the end.
More comments.
Yeah, and I forgot there's one more very important thing at the end, too. Go ahead.
Oh, God. A couple more comments I had was one of the commentators, I think it was Vince, but they were very hard to tell apart at times over voice. Tried to insult Alondra's appearance.
Yeah.
And
that sounds like Jerry. That sounds like the king.
Not that it would be justifiable to insult either of them, but I just want to say for the record that Alondra is conventionally beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. In my humble opinion, both of them hot. Totally would.
Both of them super hot to me, but I just want to be clear. Alondra is conventionally, and especially, I want to be even more clear, conventionally by the standards of 1995.
Exactly.
What was hotter in the 90s than a tall, blonde, long-haired woman
who could probably kick my ass? There's not much hotter than that. Yeah, like that's
a tall, blonde woman in the 90s was like considered like the pinnacle of hotness in a lot of ways, right?
No, that's like it. Yeah, that'd be before we get into Kate Moss territory. That was like it. Yeah, like pretty much. And she was like fucking built too. Like Alondra is awesome. So he goes for that. I remember he talked about like what was the classism? I think you made me whine for it about how they're.
I wrote this line down.
What was it? The something about the trailer park.
Everybody in the trailer park is watching this match with great interest right now.
Fuck you, Jerry, the fucking king.
What the fuck?
It's so like those are. First of all, that's your base, Jerry. Fuck you.
They're fucking viewers, dude.
But yeah, what the fuck? And he's supposed to be the heel, but come on, lay off. Get in there, ref. Like, fuck that. So we got through Raw, and like Kennedy, that's like one of the rougher ones that we've had. And we've had a few rough ones. That was a really bad Raw with a great main event. And then at the end of it,
other than the title event, very rough. The title event, pretty enjoyable. But again, the commentators like can't take it seriously.
Yeah. And oh god, they don't know what to do. They still think they're going for kids. Which is all the funnier that then they go to their guy that they want to be the big deal, Shawn Michaels, who's all beat up and talking about how he's not cleared because of an injury. No. He was cleared. He was being punished because he talked shit to a bunch of Marines at a bar and got his ass kicked. So he's being punished because he broke the rule of kayfabe that if you get in a fight in real life, you have to win. Because otherwise everyone knows that you're going to get your ass kicked in a real fight. So like that's why Razor has the Intercontinental title. That's why we had to do the fucking Royal, the Rumble, the Battle Royal, all that because
that's why they played up Marty Jannetty's possible real life murder.
Yes, that's
unironically,
unironically, and that's why they played up Marty Jannetty as possibly winning because his old partner is the whole reason this is happening. Like it all because Shawn got drunk and fucked up and started shit. And like they said, 9 guys jumped him in Syracuse. There's books where they say it's a dozen Marines. You know, it's a wrestler's story. Who the fuck knows?
It's probably
probably 3 guys, and he had it coming.
Which, I mean, you know, in real life, if 3 guys jump you, you're probably getting your ass kicked, even if you're tough. You know, there's no real shame in that. But it is bad for kayfabe.
It's bad for kayfabe, and in reality, he was drunken on like muscle relaxers. So it'd be like every time they talk about it, I imagine that scene in Wolf of Wall Street where he's fucked up on the Quaaludes trying to get to his car, but it's Shawn trying to fight Marines. It's like honestly, what I imagine what's happening.
His big mistake was letting the story get out at all.
Exactly, and then
he should have said, "I was on a boat and I fucking fell off into the water and tweaked my neck falling off the boat or some shit like that."
He couldn't though because there was like legal shit. Like he got in a fucking bar fight. Like he had to deal with this in Syracuse. And they had
but still, if you really know your PR, you know you get that whole trial like.
Yeah.
What's it called? You know, they have that whole term. They have terms for when it's like you get it all like basically put out of the public record.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you request that this stuff not be done on the public, and you could tell it. The thing is like you could tell a judge, hey, it's because for kayfabe reasons as a wrestler, I don't want the public to know I got beat up, and a judge would actually consider that a reasonable argument.
Especially, I mean, maybe, oh God, I don't know about the time. God, that's so funny to think about. But no, instead, but that just is because they believe their own shit. They're all high on it too. Vince especially, like they're so into keeping this kayfabe that they're like, well, we just got played because that's how.
Also, I'm sure, like also tough guy shit where it's just like, I'm sure he was just like the next day, I got jumped by 9, you know, telling everybody.
Yeah, exactly, because he's got to get ahead of it. Yeah, he wants to get ahead of the story. But all of this is because of that. So the fact that they ended it with him, like, I thought was really funny and like trying to make people sympathize for him, his black eyes and shit. And I was just like, oh God, fuck you, Shawn. Fuck you so hard, dude. But that's raw.
I will say though, I did believe Shawn when he talked about the heartbreak of handing that belt over, because I'm sure that Vince McMahon did that to humiliate him intentionally.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I mean when I say punishment. Like, that's the old school.
Yeah.
Of like, if you got fucked up, you're going to pay for it because you're making all of the business look bad.
And
like, yeah.
Shawn Michaels managed to turn it around somewhat, have a pretty good late career.
Well, yeah, very much so. No, absolutely. This is still early on. He had
so like
he's got so much more after this.
He's gonna turn things around.
This is very much just a blip. And same thing that's going to happen to Triple H in a little bit too. That he's going to do something that fucks with kayfabe and gets punished for it. And now he runs the fucking company. So like all these guys weasel out of it. It's what they do. But yeah, speaking weasel, Bobby Heenan. Nitro. That That's the closest I've ever gotten to a clean transition, I think, because someone said Weasel. And I was like, hey, that's what they call Bobby. There you go. So you said you mostly saw Raw. Welcome to Nitro. This is the big thing. Ted Turner coming for Vince's pie. This is what it is.
And obviously in this era, Nitro has the big stars.
All the guys that were huge before at WWF are over there now where the big boys play. Yep.
Right. And so, it was during this era, it was harder to watch these shows because they were,
same time.
more exclusive also.
Yeah, because it's TBS.
Was on a channel I could easily access, and Nitro was not.
Yeah, because that's TNT. It was on Nitro was on TNT. So same thing, and like that's why you have to pick one. So that's why I was on Raw, but that's why I'm doing this in the first place, is to watch Nitros for the first time. And they're counting down to Halloween Havoc, which I'm going to mention because that's coming up to Patreon. So feel free to listen to the watch party for that. It's going to be a good one with the monsters and the machines. And to put more to your point, though, they start with the biggest boy, Macho Man, who was like the big deal in WWE not too terribly long before this. And like right off the bat, here's the thing. We're giving you all of your favorite people from then. But he's going against Kurosawa. Japanese wrestler is fucking awesome.
Now, overall, the Nitro matches beat the Raw matches. However, this match, a little sloppy.
Well, it is what it's not great because it's like I feel because it's like Macho Man's a little bit out of his element. Kurosawa's a little bit out of his element. Colonel Parker is there for some reason. I guess
definitely felt like Macho Man and Kurosawa come from completely different schools.
Exactly, and I wrote down they're giving us Japanese wrestling versus Randy fucking Poffo. Wow, all right,
and Macho Man's whole shtick in this match, and I know that this was his shtick in other matches sometimes too, is like he just gets the shit beaten out of him for most of it, and then all of a sudden he wins.
Exactly. That's that old school Hulk Hogan hulking up. That's the formula that they ran with Vince that made them so much money, and they just keep trying to do that, and it's just like it's not going to work. And like that's the joy of the Attitude Era, is all of them trying to fucking figure out what will work now, and like they're going for it by even having people from Japan come over, but they haven't quite figured it out yet, and they really do. And I actually think
but they don't know what they're doing here exactly. No, and it's a very bizarre,
weird ending. Like, yeah,
very bizarre match all the way around. Kind of fun, not like awful to watch, and they seem to know not to let it run too long.
Basically, yeah, and they're like they get the job done. It's a good little opening match.
There was a line from one of the commentators, "Never seen Macho Man dominated quite like this before." I know that wrestling commentators say this sort of thing a lot, but it sure tickled me. And
yeah, I was going to say, when you think about it, probably not. I feel like Miss Elizabeth does not give me top energy at all. So, yeah.
Macho Man wins almost by like a technicality, it feels like.
Basically.
It seems like his win comes out of nowhere. Shortly after this, they're talking about Halloween Havoc, and I just liked that they mentioned, be a part of history by doing this stuff. It's really interesting because I've never thought about Halloween Havoc as a historical event, or just at all.
At all, really.
So I just thought that was kind of funny, the drama of, be a part of history. It's like, dude, nobody remembers Halloween Havoc 1995.
Well, like they do, but not for good reasons. I will say, Kennedy, what they meant was it's historical that we are going to have monster trucks at a wrestling show. And in that sense, they were right, because after Halloween Havoc 95, they didn't do that shit again because it was fucking stupid. And no one liked it. They did it and it was like that. Everyone disliked that. Like nobody thought, no one was like, go again.
I haven't actually seen it yet, but as I understand it, it's like the worst parts of a monster truck show and the worst parts of a wrestling show, not the best parts of the show.
Yes, and Kevin Sullivan and Hulk Hogan. So it really is. It's the worst of every possible thing.
Speaking of Hulk Hogan, you know what we've got in this episode? No mustache Hulk Hogan, which you did not properly. I needed a trigger warning. Okay, I needed a trigger warning that I was gonna see Hulk Hogan's upper lip. All right.
It's unnatural. It's not unnatural. It's not right.
Not right at all.
I totally forgot about that.
Here's the thing is, you can see that his upper lip is so used to having all that mustache there that it has become overly strong. And so when he shaves it off, his upper lip is like unusually muscular looking for a lip. It's uncomfortable.
It's been doing its own steroid cycle. Yeah, it's very weird. It's not good.
I just want to say also, as somebody who, I understand that these are terms that make sense if you watch this stuff, but as somebody who doesn't watch wrestling and doesn't know much about it, I walked through the valley of the Dungeon of Doom, but I fear no evil, dude. Line was mind-blowingly hilarious.
That's the correct response to that, Kennedy. This shit is fucking ridiculous. The Dungeon of ever since we watched Fall Brawl,
I kind of understood what the dungeon was by the end, but in this moment,
the Dungeon of Goon, yes, it's not good. And watching with no context, I can't fucking imagine. This is really not great because Hulk is he's still trying to be Hulk Hogan and the Vitamins brother and all this shit. And he's Kevin Sullivan's like, well, I still want to be a satanic dude, but I have to go towards kids. So it's the Dungeon of Doom. And they're just trying so fucking hard. And then they took off his whiskers. They shaved off his mustache a couple weeks back. And that's why you got that jump scare. And they allude to that. Hogan, I think, does a racism at OJ with the black glove comments. I couldn't really tell.
I couldn't tell exactly what the goal there was, but the black glove comment was crazy.
Even in context, it didn't make sense.
Even if you just ignore any possible weird connotations, he says, "You know what a man in black gloves could do," and I was like, you into gay fisting or what are you?
Yeah, exactly. It was are we talking rubber? What are we getting at? Yeah, okay, what? Because that could go so many ways. This in the context of the time, I think he meant OJ because of the time period we're in, and because he's racist Hulk Hogan. But I was just like, this is also fucking weird. And they ended with saying he's the man in black, and I'm like, I hope fucking Johnny Cash sued. And I don't think he did, but goddamn, this whole thing is driving me. I'm so ready for this Dungeon of Doom shit to be over with Hulk. The black Hulk, the black Jimmy Hart, trying to act like he's got his colors stolen by what's his face, when really, as we'll see, Sting took him apparently. It's so weird, and I'm not a Hulk fan really to begin with, but this is really bad even for him. Even for him, it's so fucking wrong, and I hates it. And they go from that, which is the hokey quota hit, now it's getting into the cruiserweight tag action, thank fuck. And now it's what made WCW really awesome in bringing in Eddie Guerrero and Dean Malenko, Chris Benoit, Mr. JL, who's just Jerry Lynn under a mask. These are all guys that were basically coming over from Japan and ECW. And like, so this is really an ECW match that they're giving us, and this is the second time they've done this, and I think in a row since we've been watching all these. Is it's just guys that came over from ECW and are doing their thing, and it's fucking awesome. And Eddie and Chris facing off. They will eventually be best friends in the saddest part of the 2000s in wrestling, unfortunately.
Yeah. Of course, when Chris Benoit comes out, you go, "Woo, Chris Benoit!" And then you look around, and you go, "Who said that?" It's really insensitive.
Yeah, exactly. How dare you? How very dare?
Who cheered for Chris Benoit? That's fucked up. It's really fucked up.
And I'm like, me when I was 12 before we knew better.
It is sad to think of the whole thing, and very, very tragic and fucked up. And it's hard to look at him in the same light. And I wasn't the big wrestling fan as a kid or anything, but even I knew who he was vaguely.
Yeah.
He
ended up becoming a really big deal even after WCW. Him and Eddie were after WCW. Him and Eddie were like probably the biggest things to come over from WCW into WWE.
Yeah, and this tag team match shows why, because the athleticism on display is incredible. It felt less fake somehow.
Yeah, it's the sloppiness is done in the sense of like, especially him and Eddie do it really well, where it's like they fall out of the ring and it doesn't look like they like carefully work together to fall out of the ring, which is what it can look like a lot. It really looks like they're just trying to kill each other and we're paying attention and fell out of the ring. And
and I don't know who the masked guy was, but he was good too.
That's Jerry Lynn. That's a dude who's from ECW. That's why they call him Mr. JL. He's works in AEW as a coach now. He's still around, but can't wrestle anymore. But yeah, he was awesome. Dean Malenko, second generation.
He's a good coach just based on seeing this alone.
Yeah, exactly. What I love is that it kind of plays off of what we were just talking about with Macho and Kurosawa of like the styles not working together. But then you have Dean and Eddie, and like they managed to create this beautiful fusion where Eddie is doing lucha stuff against Dean's like mat wrestling style, and they're making it look like you feel that would actually look like in a fight. And it's not clunky and it's not awkward like when Kurosawa and Macho were doing it. So like it's possible, and these are the guys in the cruiserweight division is where they start to really build that of like you can take these different styles and make it make sense and not make it look shitty.
Again, in this completely complimentary way, it almost looked more like a high school wrestling match or something where they're actually trying to fucking pin each other down.
Oh yeah, no, exactly. They made it feel real.
They made it feel much more real in this tag team. Like at first I was like, are these guys like, are they actually taking this more seriously in some way? And they're like, no. These guys are just really good at kayfabe compared to Macho Man and Kurosawa in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely. They were just really selling it. Like Eddie and Chris facing off, and it's like those the two are going to end up being best friends. But they made it look like they wanted to fucking take each other's heads off here.
Truly. You telling me that they're going to be best friends later is like, whoa, because like, yeah.
Yeah, Eddie's death is one of the things that triggered Chris to go down such a dark path, is because Eddie died of a heart condition after getting clean. It was like the saddest that like as fucked up and awful as Chris Benoit's shit is how sad Eddie's was. Is because like Eddie like he'd finally gotten to the top of that fucking mountain. He had gotten clean off of the shit. He was working at getting better on the steroid shit. Yeah. And like his body just gave out because he'd just done it for so long.
He had just been too hard on it.
It's been too hard. Yeah.
It's unfortunately too common a story both in wrestling and in music and in a few other areas
things where you really try to push and you feel like you have to push and you're not paying attention to what your body is telling you.
And yeah, there's been a few musician deaths in the last few years where you can think of like some similar stories where it's like they got clean but then they die at like 52 because they abuse their liver so hard for 30 years.
Yeah.
That even though they've been clean for 5 years, it doesn't matter.
Exactly. I love the juxtaposition too of watching this match while they're continuing to try to sell us on the ice block. It's again that thing of like wrestling does not know who it's for right now. It does not know where it's going to go. Because you have this amazing technical, awesome wrestling going on, and you're still trying to sell us on the Yeti in this ice block that the Dungeon of Goons has brought to us. That's going to be the insurance
let's talk
policy.
about a little of that stuff.
We kind of jumped over it because I don't want to think about it.
Also, just because Chris Benoit and Eddie wrestling, wow.
Yeah, it pulls you away.
The Giant. Let's talk about that for a second. Again, I don't know a ton about wrestling, but I know a little bit about the wrestling of this era. And,
you have questions.
This guy would go on to have a much more defined persona as Big Show.
Yes, in WWE.
But in this era, he really does not have a clear persona other than just like big fella that kind of acts a little crazy.
Yeah, Captain Insano, like his happy or his whatchamacallit. Which one? The Waterboy character. He plays Captain Insano in the Waterboy, and he's basically just doing Captain Insano.
Yeah, and it's pretty clear that like they're just mostly relying on the fact that this guy is 7 feet tall. I'm sorry, over 7'4".
I think he gets 7'7" before he stops growing. I forget.
Yeah, in the kayfabe, they had quite a few extra inches there. But he really is 7 feet tall.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
For real. Without adding any kayfabe inches, which is pretty crazy, right?
Yeah. And he had the same condition as Andre. Basically. But he got his fixed. Andre never got his fixed, is the difference. But also tie that in, though, you're talking about he doesn't have a solid character. If you had been watching leading up to this, you would know they are trying to actually say he's Andre's son. They are starting to pull away from that at this point. This is the first episode where they like don't really straight up mention that he's Andre's kid and he's just the Giant. And I'm happy for that, which says a lot with what they're doing with his character, that I am happy with what I saw here.
Yeah.
That says a lot. That really says a lot. Yeah, and he's young yet. He's green. He's I think like 24 at this point. Like he's definitely green, and that's another thing where I think he really got hurt just by the fact that they were trying to push that on him and trying to make him this and make him that instead of just letting him work. Because, they eventually becomes Big Show. And I fucking loved him as Big Show. I had never heard of the Giant before that. I just knew that I was like, oh, this is a guy who's in WCW. Now he's here. Cool. It's Captain Insano. Awesome. That's all I knew was Captain Insano. And he still does shit. Like I just saw him he was in a fucking hardcore match, like a Stadium Stampede match or some shit, and he got like power slammed on top of a truck by a dude, and he's like 50 something. I feel like he's too old to be doing that shit. And he's still huge. Right.
That whole bit was strange. The glacier is strange, feels like a weird bit. Hulk Hogan even says something about why do you need all these contingency plans and stuff like. And I started to be like, yeah, man, like,
yeah, precisely, exactly.
like, what's up with that? The iceberg has a penis impression.
Oh God, yeah. Well, Yetis have genitals. Kennedy, geez.
No, but like the big shape. Where you can sort of see the person behind it. At first, it looks more like it's just kind of an oval or something, but then they pan out and it's more of a penis.
It really is. Yeah. God.
That was kind of funny. Also, during the tag team match, there's a brief interruption because Scott Norton and Shark get in a fight backstage. I love this. This was really fun. But also, in particular, I wanted to point it out because they said that there was a beef left over from September 11th.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was really funny.
I almost had you on the September 11th show just because of worst week yet in the history there. But yes, they got into it a bit on September 11th, which is, I wrote down to mention it too, because those guys are two big deals in Japan, John Tenta and Scott Norton. So it makes sense they would have them beef. Also big meaty men slapping meat. Where's my beef? There is my beef. So, like, I am actually ready to see that. John Tenta
this was two
rules.
big fellas just slapping each other. I love that.
That's some of my favorite wrestling, and John Tenta's the shit.
You get me two 350-pound men just slapping each other in the face. I could watch that for an hour.
Hell yeah, that's basically sumo. And John Tenta was a sumo wrestler. Now he's a shark from the Great Barrier Reef, apparently. But that was awesome to look forward to in the middle of this, again, like ECW match.
This felt like, as opposed to like Avatar and Brian whatever from the last show from Raw, this felt like B characters being done right.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, here's the characters that you don't care about that much. They're slapping each other in the back room. You want to watch these two fellas slap each other for a few seconds? Yeah, you do. Okay, you don't care about them that much. Let's move on. Like,
back
that
to the cruiserweights. Yeah, no, they have a better idea of that timing than Raw did, for sure. WCW is just kind of better right now. Like, absolutely, it's continuous better right now.
Also, this was funny. Alex Wright was supposed to be in the tag team, and he's on the sidelines with an injured knee. And one of the commentators said that he injured his knee doing the dance moves to Saturday Night Fever. Which I thought was a kind of a funny comment.
Well, that part of that is it's Disco Inferno, because Disco Inferno is a wrestler. So he hurt himself wrestling Disco Inferno and so that's what he was referencing.
Wow, it's a deeper joke than I even realized.
Exactly. And I wrote down, because like Bobby Heenan is barely holding the contempt in his voice at the ridiculousness that Alex Wright, who is actually a pretty good worker, got hurt against Disco fucking Inferno, who is like, if Disco Inferno was like, what if we had a jobber that we gave a gimmick? And like his gimmick is Saturday Night Fever.
Amazing.
And like, that's what that was.
So one of the commentators, when Hulk Hogan's doing his weird shit, or after he did, so this is actually after. So it's like Hulk Hogan did his weird thing earlier, and then they bring it up later during this match, I think is actually what happened.
Yeah, because they're always talking about Hulk.
They're always talking about, which makes sense. You know, you got to fill the air. And not every wrestling move needs you to go, whoa, you know. But one of the guys goes, this is a side of Hulk Hogan that I'm not comfortable with and frankly scares me, which is also how I felt about seeing an unshaven Hulk Hogan. I also was not comfortable with that at all. And again, I needed a trigger warning, okay? No mustache Hulk Hogan is fucked up to just spring on somebody.
I am so sorry. Technically, there is a general content warning on the whole show, but I should have made it clear. Like, of the monstrous thing.
I'm fine. Anything else I could pretty much handle. But
that naked upper lip is some fucked up shit.
Hulk Hogan's naked upper lip was not okay at all with me.
Never, ever.
This final tag team match,
this main event,
was pretty good too.
I think it fucks in totally different ways than the previous match fucked. It still fucks, but not in that same like this is a real fight way. it was different. It's two teams that I really like. I love Harlem Heat. Harlem Heat is like the one of the staples of WCW tag team. Lex and Sting end up being a pretty historically important tag team in this era. So this is kind of the beginnings of that too.
Yeah.
So like historically, this
definitely bringing a nice vibe.
And Sherry, they have Sherry, and I will.
Sister Sherry, just the most oiled woman on TV ever. It looks like she just got out of like a bath in like an industrial lubricant.
She put on a fucking hot outfit and slayed though. So like,
but yeah, I mean, no, she looks fabulous as hell.
Just wet, just very moist.
It's very extremely distressingly moist.
Very Martell, distressingly moist.
But these three, they're having the most fun losing that anyone can have.
Oh yeah, love that shit.
They don't even seem to care that they're losing. They're just here to have a good time,
basically. And then they continue with Sherry falling in love with Colonel Parker, and like, honey, you deserve
pulling
better.
out her weird Polaroids.
Oh God, it's so embarrassing.
That part was so funny and bizarre.
I mean, we all have exes that we regret, but fuck Sherry.
Very, very funny, weird stuff going on. And overall, the wrestling is pretty solid, I thought.
Yeah, it was a lot of playing with the attention of the ref. You know, like that kind of. They're doing a lot of like old school tricks of tag team wrestling, and that was really refreshing.
We forgot to mention also. I forget who this is, but somebody attacks Eddie Guerrero after the match.
Oh God, who attacked Eddie after the match? I forgot.
When they're walking away from the ring after winning.
Oh well, after this is the way it ends.
No, we're not there yet. But I'm talking about between the two tag team matches.
Oh yeah. Oh God, I fucking
when
missed
Eddie
that.
and JL are walking away, I forget who this is, and you'll have to.
Oh, Brian Pillman. Brian Pillman, I forgot about that. Yeah. Brian Pillman came out and hopped.
This part is great because, especially, I watched this scene twice. The first time I watched it, it really sold. It really sold. It was only on the second watch that I was like, "Oh, Eddie's completely ready for this." And this is in fact still scripted television.
But at first it seemed like someone just showed up and was going off book.
You can't even tell it's a wrestler at first because he's just kind of coming out in civilian clothes too.
Yeah.
Like it's a total surprise. And like I said, you watch it the second time, you can tell Eddie's completely ready for this.
He braces.
He actually does an incredible job of pretending that he hit his head, but then you look closely and he never hits his head on the ground.
Yeah, with the DDT. Yeah, it was a perfect, like picture perfect DDT.
Perfect.
And that's Brian Pillman's thing right now. That's a lot of what's gonna mold into the attitude era. Is like you said, he's in civilian clothes. He doesn't come out looking like a big, like superhero flashy wrestler, and that gives you that second of doubt of like, wait, did a fan just DDT Eddie Guerrero? Oh no, it's Pillman.
Eddie plays it perfectly without making it look like it's a thing at all, because you know he must see this guy coming at a distance, and so he turns his back on him.
No big deal. Yeah.
Like, I'm just turning to the crowd. I'm celebrating. I'm not looking. And then he turns at the very last second. Oh, somebody's attacking me. What? And it's like I just really like, again, it's so hard in this moment to think of WCW as gone and WWF as successful with this as the comparison, because again, every moment of this episode felt authentic and exciting. There's all the stuff that you want to see in a wrestling match, you know?
Even the hokey stuff is getting like properly sold in as far as the physicality is concerned. You know, hey, they're just better.
Even the people watching it in the front row are buying this moment between Brian and Eddie, at least somewhat. At least somewhat.
And then he starts throwing up the four horseman hands and just fucks out of there, and no one knows why. And that's Brian Pilmy is the loose cannon at this point.
JL doing a perfect job of like seeming like maybe I'm gonna chase this guy, but no, I gotta see to my buddy. You know, like every single person just playing their part in that moment. Really, really great stuff. I just really wanted to draw attention. I thought that was one of the best moments. But anyway, back to Sting.
Yeah,
Sting and Lex and the Harlem Heat.
Yeah, all five of those guys are. Yeah, I'm happy you brought that up because like all five of those guys are like some of the best to do it, and the fact that they are doing it on live TV in '95 is fucking awesome. But yeah, back to Sting and Harlem Heat and what the fuck, and they play up the thing of attacking the guy who's not legal, so Sting can hit the clothesline and win it.
Yeah. And you can even. They overall sell these moves really well, but you can tell Sting is just waiting for his moment at the end.
Yeah, it's like, come on, turn the fuck around, All right.
He's like, all right, look at me. One of you look at me. One of you look at me. One of you look at me. One of you. Yes, eye contact.
Someone please look at me so I know that you'll catch me, basically.
And then I also loved how chaos. Now, in contrast with the Raw Royal Rumble, which wasn't fun at all. This at the end of Nitro, where the Giant comes in,
clowns,
and just starts making trouble, and then everybody else starts piling into the ring after. You know, you got Macho Man coming in, and you got a lot. You know, Macho Man, when he's bringing his A game, what's great about him is that he's a little guy with tons of energy.
Yeah. Exactly. That's his whole thing. He's just so intense.
He's just bringing that intensity in here. And when he's like, when Hulk comes in and it's like, oh shit, are they going to start fighting or ahead of schedule? And Macho Man's trying to break them up.
Like, wait for the pay-per-view. Wait for the pay-per-view.
Wait for the pay. No. This is going to happen right now. Get the monster trucks out here. like that shit was fun as hell.
Yeah, that's the comforting ye old wrestling storytelling of trying to get the pay-per-view buys up the show before the pay-per-view. They give you that you want to show your two guys facing off, you know?
And they really play up everything with Hulk Hogan and the Giant, you know, trading blows, and at first the Giant's kind of in the lead, then the Hulkster's kind of winning, but then it gets too chaotic, and that's a perfect way to set them up for now they're going to fight in a week.
And it totally worked. It absolutely worked. And even though it's the Dungeon of fucking Goon, it still was good. This felt like it might have been the first proper clusterfuck Nitro ending, and that's something that's going to become like a tradition of this era. Like to the point where there's a while last year, there was a stretch where they were doing a lot of these kinds of endings on AEW, and all the wrestling fans are like, oh, these are like the old Nitro clusterfucks. Like every week it would end with everyone hitting the ring and being a big fight like that. And this is like one of the first ones we got one of those.
I think it's a great way to end things on a high note that works with kayfabe. You know,
absolutely.
Because it just plays into the idea of like, these guys just want to fight all the time, and we're just barely restraining them enough to make them fight in a ring in front of a referee. Like, we're just barely capable of keeping them, you know,
off of each other at all times.
At all times, yeah.
And it's a great way to work with the fact that you have, you know, it's live and you got to go when you got to go. Like when your time's done, your time's done. So it's almost like a fade out. You know, it's like the action's still going. There's no solid ending, you know, because you don't know when it's going to pull out, basically. And they tried to work it a little bit better with the actual ending, which was the Yeti showing up out of the ice block. But it was such an afterthought over what I was actually excited about, which was the clusterfuck in the ring.
The clusterfuck in the ring was so much fun. So much fun.
Yeah.
What are the guys pulling out a billy club to try to break? like just so much comedicness in the clusterfuck, and yet at the same time, that edge of like, even though it's very comedic, you feel like somebody's about to get hurt, maybe.
Yeah, because it's not even a match. There's no rules.
There's no rules, right? And also, these guys seem really mad at they're really playing up the like. That's part of why I was asking, like, is this the beginning of the Attitude Era? Because like over here on Nitro, it feels like the Attitude Era is starting. Over on Raw, it feels like the Attitude Era is still just an idea.
It's kind, and that's kind of what this is, and that's a lot of what the wars are and what they became, is because like the Attitude Era is almost a reaction to ECW and WCW, because like they have to. WCW Nitro showing up and being this good and having this kind of reality and vibe to it is going to force Vince to give up on the hokey kid shit that made him so much money in the 80s. He's going to have to fucking give up on it. And he doesn't know what to do about it until Stone Cold kicks Jake's ass and says, Austin 316 means I just kicked your fucking ass. Like, he comes out and says, I kicked your ass on pay-per-view. And it's, everyone loses it. Next thing you know, Austin 316 is everywhere. And
right. And obviously, Steve Austin is like, he is like the poster child of
Attitude Era. Yeah, him, Sean and DX and that kind of stuff. The Rock to a certain extent, but like he's the one that really, Attitude is like in reference to him and his character more than anything. But a lot of that, he picked a lot of that up in WCW and ECW, because he was in WCW before Nitro. Steve Austin is in WCW.
It feels like the difference between like these people that like you might be afraid of if you like got into a confrontation with, but that like you also feel like probably realistically a lot of them wouldn't be so bad to have a beer with, versus like Attitude Era is like you don't want to be anywhere near any of these. Again, it's like the opposite of the in your house thing in a way, where it's like you don't want to be anywhere near any of these guys. If you're within a mile of Steve Austin, he might beat you up just for fun. Like,
and we're all like, yeah, kick my ass.
That's the vibe that's coming soon. And Nitro here feels like it has they have the beginnings of that. And even as much as we're clowning on Hulk, shaved Hulk in black, he is bringing this intensity of like,
he's trying,
I'll kill a motherfucker. Like, he's trying to have that attitude, and like, it's not working entirely, but it's also not working.
Yeah, that's something I was surprised of, because like I was semi-familiar with this era of Hulk, and I knew it wasn't going to be great, but he's actually trying more than I initially would have given him credit for.
He's really putting the effort into this era of his character.
He's trying to make something happen with this.
You have to give him credit, actually, because he was talking about in his speech how there's people ripping off his 80s look and how he's moved on. And it's ironic because it's like, brother, people are going to be ripping off your look that you're sporting right now in a minute. Like,
it's going to be changed. Yeah, you're going to help. You're going to be Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and you're going to do it too. He doesn't even realize that he's doing a parody of him in 8 months. And it's so fucking wild, because we get to, I think it's basically the fall, almost the fall. So almost a full year from now is when like NWO shit starts really kicking off. Maybe a little earlier than that. Yeah. And he makes the turn at Bash at the Beach next year. So next summer he turns heel and the NWO starts, and the whole black and white Hulk Hogan thing is like forever until he brings it back, and after WCW is dead. He brings it back a little bit, but it's wild to see all of this and be like, some of this is great, most of it sucks. It's so close to what's going to be like literally world changing. Like we're coming from the worst years for this shit into the hottest it has ever been.
Yeah,
and,
New World Order.
Wild.
I remember when that came out. You know, we got to wrap this up, but I'll just say quickly, when that came out, I will say that even I, a non-wrestling head, remember that suddenly wrestling was everywhere again.
And that was NWO and that was Stone Cold. Yep.
Everywhere. 1994, you could hardly find a wrestling action figure in a mainstream store. 1997, wrestling action figures were at the front of the toy aisle.
Yeah. So I think, needless to say, we both agree that WCW won this week. I feel like we're discussing that without even saying we're discussing
hands down, I'm very sorry to Alundra Blaze and Big Bertha, who actually, their wrestling match was potentially the best of everything that we saw.
I was gonna say, I think that I agree. They were my favorite match, but it wasn't enough to save.
But the problem is, if that's a 10 out of 10 match, then the other matches on Raw were like 5s.
Yeah, and
whereas on Nitro we got like 2 9s and a 7.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So they drag the average
even that
down.
First match, even though we clowned on it, Kurosawa's amazing.
Yeah, like, it didn't necessarily work right, but it worked fucking enough. Exactly. Like, it worked better than.
And also, watching Macho Man do anything is fun.
Yeah, he's just entertaining.
He's just a good performer. He's just you could watch him do just about anything, and so even that's like a 6 or a 7 at least. And that beats the hell out of the. In fact, that Royal Rumble, that I'd be giving giving 5s. I'll give the Royal Rumble a 5. Avatar versus Bryan, that was like a 3 or a 2.
Oh, yeah.
That was garbage.
Buddy, that was a 1. That was a fucking 1 in my book.
Yeah, that was I'm not. I'll take your, because I'm not as well versed in wrestling. I'm going to defer to you here and say that's a 1. I'm going you in that.
Like,
so you have one great match and one barely okay match and one shitty match. And the barely okay match, it's only a 5 out of 10 because of the end. If it was all like the beginning, it would be a 1 too. Because that beginning's incomprehensible. It's only at the end when it starts to narrow down and Marty Jannetty's just throwing dudes out of the ring at one point towards the end, like several in a row, doing these great moves, and Owen Hart hanging on to the ropes as hard as he can. That stuff saves it, but it's like the last 5 minutes of a 20-minute debacle.
Exactly. It's like after the beginning of the debacle, they ended on a good match. Like if it had just been Owen versus Jannetty to see who got to go for the title, I've been fine with that. We could have gotten 20 minutes.
Maybe just
20-minute barn burner. Yeah,
cut it down to a 4x4 and give us that. We could still have that moment where Marty Jannetty throws 2 people out of the ring back to back. And
I'll figure it out.
Like that was awesome. So I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. On that note, I'm not doing Side of the Week this week because I only saw one and fuck it. But do you have anything, Kennedy, that you would like to promo before we get out of here? Let people know where to find you.
I really tried. There were not signs.
There was like a Canadian flag Raw.
There were some guys who painted their face to say TNT WCW.
I did write down about that. I saw that and I was like, never before have I seen a full screen of what I'm sure is just like the most disappointing sexual experiences all in one place and with face paint. So I guess that counts.
Do you think the face paint guys ever explored each other's bodies? Anyway,
so.
Sorry. Am I doing plugs right now?
Yeah, you're plugging.
My name's Kennedy Cooper. You can find me on the internet at Kennedy T. Cooper, a few different places. Twitter is one, Blue Sky is another, Instagram is a third. There might be others, but I wouldn't recommend them. And you can also hear me podcasting pretty much every week on The Worst Week Yet.
Big fan of the pod, yes.
Yeah, very fun show. We talk about the news and stuff. Andrew, Hillary, and I are also working on maybe sort of a side show or something to that main show, because we've done a couple of like shows where we like did a bit the whole episode or things like that were fun, and we've been talking about like what if we did something more like that more often. So we got a lot of cool stuff in the works over there at Worst Week Yet. We also have a Patreon over there where we do a lot of fun stuff. We recently reviewed Unfrosted, which is one of the worst movies, actually pretty much the worst movie I've ever seen, and I don't say that lightly whatsoever.
Braver than the troops, both of you. Jesus Christ.
And our next review is going to be A24's Civil War, baby.
Oh, God. All right, what is it that with both of us, maybe I got it from you, that I choose a podcast project that causes me so much psychic damage? I'm like, why did I choose to do this?
Here's what I will say is that the right kind of bad content makes for good content.
There you go. There you go.
Now, the right kind of good content also makes for good content. So it's not like it has to be bad, but I would just say that, you know, our patrons seem to like it when we watch shitty movies sometimes.
Yes.
So sometimes that's what we do. Anyway, that's all I got going on at the moment. That's super critical that I want to plug right now. Just stay tuned to my social media. I've got exciting things going on all the time.
Indubitably. Well, thank you for hanging out. Thank you, folks, for listening. You can find us.
For having me. I will be back for sure.
Hell yeah. And also on Patreon, I'm sure. And I'm not sure if y'all have noticed, but a lot of previous guests like to hang out for these watch parties, and it's working for me. So thank y'all for listening. You can find us in Blue Sky at mnffpod.bsky.social. Instagram at mnffpod. If you want to join those watch-alongs of pay-per-views, both Attitude Era and some stuff from today and various other things, patreon.com/mnffpod. Otherwise, we will see you next week for more Raw versus Nitro on Monday Night Fake Fights. Toodle.
You brutes!
We got a live one here.
We'll treat you real nice.
What the hell? Who is that?
Let her go, or there'll be trouble.
Who are you? What's the deal with your freaky-ass motorcycle?
And what do you think you're doing on our turf, you jerk?
You're gonna get your ass kicked.
I can see the only thing you'll really understand is violence, so... Now, I'm gonna shoot off another one.
Guys, this kid's out of his mind. It's like he's got no impulse control.
You may have beaten us this time, but we'll be back! They shouldn't bother you again.
Thank you. I can never thank you enough, but I don't even know your name.
Look, I'm not anyone important, okay? Hey, look, the police are here. But they got here a little bit late, because I've already punished the evildoers. My pencil. He ate my pencil! That can't be normal. He ate all of them. These guys are not your run-of-the-mill delinquents. Where? Above us!
feel a tick in my head, and he's sucking on my head. In the morning